waiting on. All right, perfect. Thank you very much. So let's go ahead and get ready to do this. All right. Okay. How's everybody doing? Everybody ready to go? Are we good? We good? Anybody need more time? No more last bathroom break or anything? We good? All right, you guys, let's go ahead and do it. We good on the full moon side? Everybody over there good? All right. All right, so here we go. The Village of El Portal Planning and Zoning Committee meeting for Tuesday, July 14th is called to order at 6:35 p.m. Right now, we're going to have a moment of silent meditation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call?
Roll call. Chairperson will not be in today. Vice Chair Nickerson.
Here.
Member Roman.
Here.
Member Erbaum.
Here.
Member Perella.
Here.
Also present for the record, Janice Jacoby, Village Clerk, in room, Village Attorney Norman Powell, Village Manager Alu, and also Camila and Juan from Placervia. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. I appreciate it. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda right now? This is the time if you want to add anything to the agenda, take anything away from the agenda. This is the time to do that.
Mr. Chair, before we do
Yes.
that, can I read the statement into the record for our Zoom virtual meetings?
Yes. Sorry about that. You may do so. Sorry about that, Mr. Attorney.
It's a labor of love. I got to read this before every meeting.
Definitely.
Okay, so on March 20th, 2020, Governor Ron DeSantis issued Executive Order number 20-1669 relating to local government public meetings. The governor's executive order suspends current laws that require a quorum present in person and that a local government body meet in a specific public place. It authorizes local governmental bodies to use communication, local government bodies, CNT, specific such as telephonic and video conferencing as provided in section 120.54, subsection B2 of the Florida statutes. Further, chapter 28-109 entitled Conducting Proceedings by Communications Media Technology of the Florida Administrative Code provides guidance for the procedures to be followed to conduct a proceeding by means of communications media technology or to provide access to a proceeding by use of a CMT. The governor's order does not waive any other requirement under the Florida Constitution and Florida's government and the Sunshine Laws. The village is using the Zoom platform to hold this virtual committee meeting. The Zoom platform does not require the public to purchase or download any additional software or equipment to watch this meeting. Zoom is a cloud platform for video and audio conferencing, collaboration, chat, and webinars across mobile devices, desktops, telephones, and room systems. Public comment will occur as they always do at committee meetings, during good and welfare, and after each agenda item prior to voting. When the chair opens the meeting for public comment, anyone wishing to participate will have 3 minutes to speak. How will you be recognized in the Zoom application if you're in the public? If you are using a mobile device, click the raise hand on the raised hand button. If you're using your computer, click the icon participants on the bottom of your screen. You will see the option to raise your hand. There are 2 ways to view the meeting on the screen. There's gallery view and speaker view. Gallery view allows you to view all participants or most participants at the same time on your screen. In speaker view, whoever is speaking will be viewed front and center, while other participants will be on top in smaller squares. Please make sure to mute microphones when not speaking. If possible, use headphones to mitigate sound feedback. When addressing the committee, please state your name and your home address. All comments submitted will be included as part of the public record for this virtual meeting and will be considered by the committee prior to taking any action. Everyone participating in this virtual committee meeting is required to maintain decorum. There's no clapping, applauding, heckling, or verbal outbursts in support or opposition to a speaker or his or her remarks, and they will not be permitted. No signs or placards shall be allowed. No person other than the person having the floor shall be permitted to enter into any discussion either directly through a member of the committee without the permission of the chair. No question shall be asked of the committee except through the chair. Any person making personal, impertinent, or slanderous remarks, or who shall become boisterous, rowdy, disruptive, or making personal comments while addressing the committee shall be barred from further participation in this virtual committee meeting by the chair. If at any time during the committee meeting, this virtual committee meeting, the public is unable to participate or its participation is interrupted due to a technical problem, the meeting shall immediately pause during such time and resume when the technical problem is corrected. The village has published an agenda as well as included in the notice of this committee meeting pursuant to our village code and the items and topics that will be discussed in this virtual committee meeting. Additionally, the public has been given the opportunity to provide public comment during this meeting. Members of the committee, are you comfortable with all the notice provisions set forth and these uniform rules of procedure which have established for this virtual meeting,
Yes.
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 All right. I think we're good. We heard from everybody. Thank you very much. At this time, we're going to continue with the approval of the agenda. So as far as the agenda goes, this is the time when if you want to add something to the agenda or if you want to delete something from the agenda, this is the time for anybody to speak up now about that. That's on the committee or the manager or the attorney or anybody else on the panel. All right. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Roman. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Urban. I appreciate it. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay.
Aye.
All right, hearing no nays. We're moving on. As far as the minutes, I reached out to the clerk. I was going to ask for a motion to move the minutes to the next planning and zoning meeting. There was a mix up with the minutes. And so we need to move those to the next planning and zoning meeting.
I'll make the motion to table the minutes to the next planning and zoning meeting.
Do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. That was motion by Councilperson Urban, second by Councilperson Roman. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Hearing none. So let's move right on to it, you guys. All right, so we're down to the agenda items. For the first one, I'm going to move to the village manager. This is our new building official. I saw him on, so congratulations. Welcome to the family. Before I let the manager take it away, Mr. Mark Jean. Thank you very much, Madam Manager. It's all yours.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, we have a very new, brand new building official. His name is Mark Jean. He is replacing recently retired Raul Rodriguez, who has been with the village for a number of years. He retired on July 1st, and he recommended Mark Jean to take his place. Mark Jean is a professional engineer, building official, plans examiner, and inspector with CAP government. He has over 15 years of professional engineering experience as a structural engineer, specializing in structural analysis, design, and inspections, experience as a civil engineer, specializing in structural analysis, design, and inspections. And his broad range of expertise includes providing design and inspection services to determine structural conditions and identify forensic related issues. When I met and interviewed Mr. Jean a couple of weeks ago, we discussed innovations to, just bring the village of El Portal into, modern technological, existence, because, we have offices filled with old papers and drawings and plans, and we want to really take advantage of whatever technologies out there to reduce that. So I know Mr. Jean really has some good ideas, and he has worked in Aventura for a number of years and has implemented technology in that municipality, and we're excited about what he can do for ours. So if he's available, just kind of speak a little bit about his experience and introduce himself to you all, then we can all see him. Mr. Jean, are you there?
Yeah, so go ahead and bring Mr. Jean on if we can. Go ahead and do that. I see him coming on. Manager, I'm gonna let you direct this since this is your employee.
Okay. You there? Okay, fantastic.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, fantastic. Well, can you talk about some of the innovations you want to bring to the Village of El Portal and some technological advances that we can take advantage of?
Okay, and Mr. Liu, thank you for the well, put introduction. I couldn't say it better myself. And I hope you guys can see me. I'm not sure if you guys can see the video there.
No, we can't.
I don't know how to, hold on, start video. Okay, there we go. Okay, yeah, so one of my immediate plans that I plan for the building department is to implement electronic plan submission, which includes electronic plan review, online payments, and electronic plan issuance. Due to the current climate, with COVID and if there's a hurricane shutdown, this will be very beneficial to the continuance of the building department. Even though we're physically closed, plans can still be accepted, reviewed, issued, and tasks can still go on. And I want to increase the efficiency of how we're conducting the operation of the building department, and also to keep the customer service aspect of it, because a lot of people feel that sometimes when you go the route of technology, you kind of lose that personal touch, and still want to keep that the customer service aspect of it. So I'm looking forward to serving this beautiful village, and let's get to work.
Okay. Well, thank you. We're looking forward to having fresh eyes and ideas in the building department. We are already implementing some of his changes. In fact, Mr. Jane has already been calling me all day. You got my email, right? We're already working on some things, so it'll all come before the council very, very short. But thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Yes.
Welcome, Mr. Jean. I looked at your resume, man. I love what I saw, and it looks like you have a lot of experience and you've been doing a lot of things. So it was great to see. So welcome aboard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, council person. So thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yes, welcome. Very glad to have your expertise.
Thank you.
Take care. Take care.
Okay, if we have no questions for Mr. Jean, we appreciate you coming on this evening, and we're just gonna, you'll see all of these things that transpire from the other side. So thank you. I'll be in touch. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you, Madam Manager. I appreciate that. We appreciate that. Thank you very much. Moving right along, you guys, the next item. So we're going to bring in Juan from Serbia, and we're talking about the amendments to the form-based code. When I was looking through it, I saw the changes, in red. There were things. This is something that you guys we've been talking about for a while, and this is ongoing, and we just continue to, chip away at it as much as possible. So Juan, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. So real quick, a code is never finished, it's never perfect, and that's exactly the way that you introduced it, which is perfect. So what we're trying to do is to improve it, and the way to improve it obviously is read it, reread it. This is what we take to bed for bedtime reading. But more than that, the different applications that come through our desk also help us identify those items that can be refined, and in some cases, as I'm gonna explain to you, leave or improve so that there's no need for interpretation, the code then becomes a little clearer. So if you have the report in front of you, you will see the first one is very simple. It's just an additional 2 items that we are going to put into the code. They actually came because of the sanctuary project. We needed to identify what kind of open space we were going to ask them to provide. And we found a need to identify those open spaces that are public and active, and those spaces that are public and passive. Those passive ones obviously work a little better next to private properties, single family houses where you don't want high activity. So this again is a way to identify and clarify the code a little more. The next item that, and by the way, interrupt me if you have any questions, any of you. The next item that you will see on the second page is in section 24-21, it's on signs. Now, these items are, again, housekeeping. It's to make sure that the code nomenclature is clear and consistent throughout.
One real quick, is there any way that we can have the documents show? Oh, now it's.
I can do it. Oh.
Okay.
I'm about to do that right now.
Okay.
I was trying to think of that right now. Does everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Is it big enough? Do I need to make it bigger or?
I think it's maybe a little bigger.
Okay.
Not smaller, bigger.
Second.
So that's the first one that I just explained. If you go to the next page under 24-21 signs, these few items, again, they're housekeeping. They are so that we can make sure that the code nomenclature and titles. If you want me to share, I can, and that way I can scroll down as I'm speaking. It's up to you.
Yeah, because you'll know exactly what you want to share and not share.
I'm allowed to share.
Stop sharing my screen.
Okay, so let me see here. Let me know if you can see my screen.
We can. If you could just make it a little bigger, that'd be great.
Does that work? Does that work for you all?
I think so, yes.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so this item here on 24-21 signs is a housekeeping item to improve on the nomenclature, as different chapters are calling things in different ways. Remember that we inherited the code from, we inherited language from the old code. So little by little, we are cleaning those things up that where they didn't fall through the cracks. We're just improving the way that things are speaking to each other. And so we changed some of these, and then we removed some of the ones that are not necessary anymore. You know, again, as you can see, straight line, obviously that was a scribbler's error that we are changing. The parking stall size, as you can see here, it's industry standard. So we had 18, which was brought in from the old code. We're changing it to 18.5, which allows for larger cars. Remember, your code was from back in the 60s, and cars used to be smaller. Right now, everybody has very large cars, so we have to account for that. But again, this is industry standard. As is this here, allowing for 18.5 for the width, and 18.5 for the length of cars. Again, very simple changes here. This one's one that I wanted to bring up to you, and actually, this is sort of like a half change, because we wanted to be a little bit more aggressive, but I wanted to give you, to get a little bit of your opinion on this. So we wanted to make sure that it was clear where cars are parking on people's properties, right? So the intent of the code from what we inherited was that paved areas were the ones where the cars go, and 66% of the front yard would be green, it would be landscaped. And so we added that there. Now, the reason why I want to bring your attention to this one is because we didn't we didn't feel right in including the word permeable into this, because that was more of a change than what we wanted. Now, considering that the village has stormwater problems, the village floods when it rains, the more permeable material we have, the more and faster the water will percolate through, the less issue we're going to have on our roads, and most importantly, on people's homes. So we didn't want to put that adjective in front of paved area, but we do recommend that you consider it. And if you do, and I would like some direction of whether or not you want me to include that, so that when we move this to council, we can make that slight modification and bring a more, I guess, resilient change to the code. Mr. Vice Mayor, if you'd like to lead the opinion, or if you want.
How you doing? Thank you, Juan. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, when I was looking at it, I saw that was that one word when it was crossed out. I saw it said paved, and for me, I mean, first of all, it's much better than unpaved, and I understand what you mean as far as the word permeable. I personally have no problem with it. I did see though, and it might, hold on, let me look really close. It might be the one that I was going to say also when you were talking about the parking, and it was 18.5. And yeah, I think this is the one, and it says 8 by 5. Is that correct? Or is it supposed to be 18 by 18, or is it 8 by 5 by 18?
It's 18 and a half by 8 and a half by 18 and a half.
Okay, 8 and a half by 18. Okay, yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I had no problem with the paved as far as the parking goes, because we had for a long time, we've had a problem, and you know, the other council members will be able to speak on this as far as what happens to the community as far as landscape and as far as cleanliness when people park on unpaved areas, and how that ends up a lot of times throughout our village. So that was something when I saw paved that it stuck out to me. But that's my opinion. But the rest of the council, Councilperson Roman.
So can we be more specific, or Juan, can you give us some examples of what the permeable, what that would look like? What materials would that look like?
So you know, you could have pavers, you could, you know, there's also permeable asphalt that one can use. It is those materials that allow for water to go through, and we can be very flexible on which of those are, as long as there is an index of permeability that come with them. I will add, if I may, another reason why we feel this is important. We have a lot of garage conversions. And the main issue of the garage conversion, which, as you know, based on the code, there's nothing that zoning can preclude, or nothing that zoning has against, the code has against garage enclosures, as long as you provide enough parking for the unit. The unit requires 1.5 parking spaces. So essentially, 2 parking spaces need to be provided. The issue that we have most of the time in these garage conversions is we always ask the applicants, where are you going to park? Because if you don't define where you're going to park within your property, that means that your cars are going to be out on the swale. And when they go out on the swale, that is a problem for code enforcement. And it goes against both the comprehensive plan and the zoning code. So identifying those areas where people are going to park, especially, you know, and again, the main issue when we have a garage enclosure is very apparent, is that they leave it unpaved, and they define where that 33% of that space in front of their house is going to be. And when it is unpaved, it means that, you know, there's no real difference whether you're parking on your grass or you're parking on your designated driveway. So keeping it paved with the recommendation that with what I'm recommending to you, which is paved but permeable, means that we will identify exactly those areas that are for parking and those areas that are not, and make sure that there's enough areas of landscape that are saved and that they are well kept. Does that answer your? I know.
Councilperson Roman.
I know that was a long answer. I'm sorry.
That answers. I mean, I knew that, you know, permeable could be different materials. So I was just curious if, you know, what your recommendation was. And I think leaving it, I understand the need for the permeable materials, especially with what we're seeing, the flooding getting worse and worse. I didn't see any flooding when I first moved here in 2005. You know, and so, yeah, absolutely. My question here, and parking, you know, this has always come up, but there are a lot of residents that don't have, really, there's some that don't have parking at all. And so they park sort of, you know, they park on the grass. And then there are others that have just a one straight, you know, where the cars have to go behind each other. But then, you know, in order not to inconvenience each other, they end up parking, you know, side by side. So in those instances, like, I'm just thinking of how enforceable is this going to be? And I mean, I would say the majority of our village is that way, with limited parking.
That's very true, and it's especially true when you when the village approves a garage conversion. And in part, in the past, I know that has been the discussion. How enforceable is it? That's really depends on code enforcement. But without clear guidelines as to where the cars go, it's very hard for them to know whether or not the cars that are in front of a house are occupying a maximum of 33%. Now, just to make sure that the residents are not afraid at this point, this would apply to future changes. If you're grandfathered in, you're grandfathered in. If you are, you know, that doesn't mean that tomorrow everybody needs to pave their driveways. But it gives much more clear guidance for new construction and for renovations and for garage conversions. I always, you know, I'm a strong advocate for public transit, and so parking is my weakness. And I always think of how terrible it would look if everybody parked on the swale. You would lose that look that the village has. How horrible it would be if suddenly you have 5 cars, let's just say, I was going to say 10, but I'm not going to be that extreme. 5 cars in front of your house parked side by side, which, by the way, happens in my neighborhood. And that's partly the reason why I am again, as an urbanist, as your consultant, I am recommending you have the pulse of the village, but my recommendation would be to be restrictive as much as you can on how and where people park, because everybody appreciates, as far as I've been with the village for 6-7 years now, everybody appreciates the greenery, everybody appreciates the landscape, and cars become, visual pollution to the village look and feel, and at the end of the day, they have an effect on value. So with all that in mind, that's what part of the reason why I recommend that we are a little bit more specific about where future parking will be within the village. Again, especially for those cases that people are enclosing their garages. And you will see we will see a garage enclosure today.
I don't have any other comments or questions.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. That's like what I was about to ask, Councilperson Roman, if you're good. Yeah, we have a garage closure coming up next, actually, on the agenda. Next is going to be, and for everybody who's wondering, so the way I'm doing with the rest of the committee, I'm going by seniority. So just, you guys know I love to keep the peace. So nobody can say, he's trying to show favoritism because I'm this person before me or something like that. I'm going by seniority. So Councilperson Roman has been on the council, and then Councilperson Erbaum, and then Councilperson Perrella, I'll come to you after that. So next is Councilperson Erbaum. Do you have any questions or comments about this part so far?
Yeah, I was very glad that Juan gave that notice that this is for future applications. I know recently we've had some folks in the village who wanted to upgrade their swale to like a French drain, for example, but there was nothing that allowed them to do that. And so in terms of the battle of are people going to park in the swales or not, I am definitely in favor of public transportation, because I think the answer to most of our traffic issues is getting more cars off of the road. But that's kind of a larger, debate outside of El Portal. It really is going to affect whether or not there are a lot of cars parking on the street or not. So perhaps the best that we could accomplish would be to create a guideline where wherever those cars would be parking, the easy thing to do is put asphalt over it. But that's certainly, I think we all agree, not what is desirable, either aesthetically or, from an engineering perspective in terms of drainage and things like this. So maybe fighting the battle we can participate in or potentially win. I think that having a guideline to the effect of the permeable issue. Juan, my question. Okay, I found my question. Is there already an index that we could possibly use to create language right now, or is this something that we kind of have to reinvent the wheel on?
So, per the direction of the mayor and this council, we have been working on those guidelines. We put those on hold for several reasons a couple of months ago.
Just to be clear, what I'm asking is in terms of,
yes.
Like someone mentioned permeable asphalt, and then, I'm familiar with kind of the paver or even like, rock, and then you're looking at what's in the substrate, et cetera. And so is there already,
yes.
Okay.
What I was going to say is that we have been putting these guidelines together, and those guidelines have the different materials that are recommended as permeable materials. Now, those guidelines have not been passed in part because of this COVID and because we had a huge amount of applications, very large applications, but the guidelines should include those. We could also include them in the zoning code, but we believe that we want to leave it a little bit flexible.
So the guide that you are working on currently, you feel is already at the point that it needs to be, or how much tweaking do you feel is left to get that guide to where you're happy with it?
Right. So we presented it, I believe it was in February, and we were hoping to get some feedback before we submit the final. I'll follow up on that, and you'll have an answer, or I can bring it up to the next P&Z and make one more presentation for it to keep you guys informed and see where we go from there. We are always acceptable. We always accept edits and changes. So. But I do believe strongly that we need to be as resilient as possible in every single change that we do to this code. So again, my recommendation stands. We recommend that we add to that paved parking change to this code the permeable, permeable paving parking areas.
I agree completely. And as people then begin to, do these upgrades to their properties, and I see it as a benefit to the village that they would be down a path where, even from an aesthetic point of view, that's kind of what I'm getting at with the guidelines is, if I'm not in favor of narrow rules typically, I definitely tend to swing, wide open in terms of leeway. However, if there was a guide that, from an aesthetic point of view, kind of made it so that whatever upgrades did fit into, just like we're trying to accomplish with the structures, with the homes in the village, and trying to accomplish, a certain kind of look, but yet accommodate a lot of different styles that the tightrope walk, right? So I think we should consider that in terms of language with this, so that there's not a total hodgepodge of how swales are done, 15, 20 years down the road here. So, so there you go. Thank you.
Very good.
Councilperson Perrella, any questions or comments?
No, I don't have any questions. I think it's like, well, that's the paved, that looks more like an, yeah, that's definitely what Juan is suggesting. It's aesthetically, and, it will look better. And, yeah, instead of like seeing cars like Councilperson Roman said, side by side because they don't want to inconvenience the other, like pulling out of the driveway, which it's my case. I have a long driveway and, we just deal with it. But a lot of people don't want to be inconvenient and to just park in front of the house, in front of next to the other car, and it looks horrible. It's just like, they're actually parking on the garden or on the, by the front door of a house, which is not by the, the garage designated parking, and, and people just throwing the gravel in front of the houses just to park. It doesn't look good. We should have a code where, all of this is regulated and, make it, make the village looks better. Definitely.
So I'm hearing that there is a, yes, I'm sorry.
No, okay, so I'm definitely for it, Juan. So just so you know, Louis, many years ago, and I don't remember if this is a part of the code or if it's anywhere written, it was appropriate, or it was said by the village that gravel or that rocks in front of the house were permitted and people can park there.
Right. No, it looks nice as long as I'm sorry. As far as like the little rocks and whatever, it looks better than the the cheap white one that's big rocks. It just there's some type of gravel that looks nice and it's permittable and it looks nice. It's like, but it's some other one that I think is the least expensive one, which is a big white one that looks kind of like cheap. It's the only one, but I'm not against the gravel or anything. It's just make the people to align and put, some sort of like barrier, barrier in between, like the road or the rest of the garden, and just, and compact the gravel to look nice. And, there's some people that have done a very good job, by, throwing gravel in front of properties. It looks nice, yeah.
Very good.
Councilperson Roman, anything else? You good? All right. Juan, I'm going to ask anybody from the audience if they have any questions or comments for you or anything that we've been talking about, and then I'll turn it back to you and then get my last from everybody else. Anybody from the audience? Anybody want to come in and ask any questions or have any comments about everything we've been talking about as far as the form-based code?
Would you like me to finish the?
Yes, I think we have one more left, correct?
Yes, we have one more left.
Go ahead, Juan.
And this is a clarification that came from the Cavista application, and it's about the distance between two different driveways for safety measures. It's a very simple one, and then the final one came also from the application of the sanctuary, which was how to count parking for an educational or a school, and he's just adding the word "or," which was missing from the original code. That's it. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry about that, Juan. Thank you very much. Anybody from the audience? I didn't see anybody from before. Give me you guys one last chance. Anybody from the audience want to come on, have any questions or any comments about everything that we've discussed right here? I am seeing none. All right. So for one last time, Councilperson Roman, I think she might have stepped away. I don't think she has anything else that she wants, like any last questions or comments, any last thoughts. Councilperson Erbaum, any last questions, comments, any last thoughts? You're good. Councilperson Perrella, any last questions, comments, any last thoughts? You're good. Madam Manager, any questions, any comments?
No, I don't have any questions or comments.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. Mr. Attorney, any questions, any comments?
No, thank you. I'll work with Juan and Camila to have the ordinances amended for the next meeting.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I saw Camilla on here also. Good to see you, Camilla. Madam Clerk, any questions, any comments? I think she's good. I think she's good. And Juan, any last words you want to say before I ask for a motion to move this to full council?
No, I would just, I don't want to overstep my position, but I would If you do, there should be probably with, if you propose a motion, it should be with that change.
Yeah, the recommended changes, definitely it will be. Absolutely. All those beautiful red changes you made, Juan, we got you. We got you. I'm hearing nothing else from nobody else. I think everybody we're good. So let's go ahead and move on. Did Councilperson Roman, we good? Go get Councilperson Roman. You know I can't do it without Councilperson Roman here. So we're good, you guys. Do I have a motion to move this to the full, do I have a motion to move this to the full council with the recommended changes? Do I have a motion for that?
I'll move to council with the recommended changes of the permeability for and everything else that was recommended.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Roman. Do I have a second on that motion to move to full council?
Yes, I'll second that.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Perrella. Madam Clerk, can I please have a roll call for that?
Roll call. Member Perrella.
Yes.
Member Urban.
Yes.
Member Roman.
Yes.
Vice Chair Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Juan. Don't go anywhere. It's all good. We're going to jump right in. So the next one, you guys, this is a garage conversion. We were just talking about garage conversions. This is a garage conversion for the address of 181 Northwest 88th Street. This is a variance for a garage conversion. 181 Northwest 88th Street. Juan, you can go ahead and get us started on that.
Very good. Thank you very much. Committee members, this application is a request to convert an existing car garage to be used as a living space pursuant of section 5-66. This variance is to modify the garage that was built, or the building that was built in 1943. 390 square feet of that garage to be converted into living space. The applicant is stated that he's currently using it. They're currently using it as storage and laundry, and it would turn their 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom into a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom. The site allows, and we've checked for parking spaces, for 2 parking spaces within the first layer, which would be compliant of Zone 3 suburban residence. And they're proposing a 55-foot long, 9-foot driveway, which is less than 33% allowable for the parking area. So staff recommends approval to this garage conversion. I can scroll down and show you what it looks like. The applicant provided the site plan. The garage actually is, I hope you can see my mouse. This is the current garage over here. It sits back from the front of the property. So as you can see in this proposed, the front of the property is right here. The garage is actually way back. So this one, we feel pretty confident that with landscaping and the fact that it's way back, the facade doesn't, it's not really affected. What you will see is this, this image in the middle here. I can actually highlight it for you. This elevation here is the front elevation. This is the existing, and this is the proposed. The garage conversion actually sits on this side of the facade. Now, the problem with facades is that everything looks two-dimensional. So this garage actually looks like it's really in the front of the house. If you look at the pictures that the applicant provided, this is one look of the facade. The garage is actually in the back here, so you can't really see it. And from the other angle, you see it back here. So we feel that the facade wouldn't be compromised. So we feel confident that this is a good application. Obviously, from the other angle, you see it a little more, but it doesn't quite affect the aesthetics of the rest of the house, which is way forward. So I'll leave you with the elevation. I'll answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. Do we have, I think the name of the applicant was Ms. Fuentes, was it? Do we have, I believe it was Ms. Fuentes. Let me pull up the application. Do we have a representative? Do we have either the applicant or representative for the applicant here who wants to come on? in case any of the council members, committee members have any questions that they want to pose directly to the applicant.
I don't think they're on.
No. I think it was Ms. Fuentes, but I didn't know if she had a representative, contractor. Okay. It's unfortunate they're not here. As far as, so I looked at everything, I understood, and you approved recommendation, Juan, you guys approved recommendation. I mean, the way I looked at it and the way I personally saw it, I mean, I didn't see anything that was too out of place. They were going to bring the windows up to match the windows of the rest of the house, and they were going from a wet bathroom to a wet bathroom. I knew it was to a 0.5. Was it an extra 0.5 or just a 0.5?
So they are going from a 3.2 to a 4.5. Okay,
so it's just a 0.5. Okay. I just wanted to make sure, because for a whole extra bathroom might be, something different. Right now, I don't have any more questions at this particular time. Councilperson Roman, the floor is yours, Councilperson.
No questions.
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Roman. Councilperson Urban.
Yes. So, Juan, you had spoken with the applicant. Is that correct?
Camila from my office has, yes.
Okay. Honestly, one of my only questions is there a plan to remove the existing pavers for the current garage out of the yard? Or once the conversion will be done, will there still be those pavers leading up to the garage conversion? In the photo, there's the pavers that the car would drive on to approach the garage. If you go down to the photos, within the landscaping of the front yard, I think the last photo is the most clear on that. Yeah. See how you've got the concrete leading up to the garage? That's really, honestly, one of my only questions is do we have a commitment that those would be replaced with proper landscaping once it was done, or whatever it might be?
Right. So the application doesn't have an improvement for this driveway.
Okay.
Again, part of the reason for our code change to make sure that if there were improvements to this driveway, it would be clearly demarked where parking would go.
Well, oh, I see, because they'll still use it as parking even. Okay. Well, I guess in that case then, would Camila know if there was any guidance given on what type of landscaping to do to best kind of, well, like for example, aesthetically with a lot of garage conversions, part of the problem I think people don't like them is because there's, like the Wile E. Coyote kind of marks running right into a wall, and you think, well, it doesn't make sense when you look at it because to that effect. So I'm just curious if there was any discussion at all in terms of how to kind of make that look more natural, as opposed to clearly a garage conversion that still has a driveway leading up.
Right. There really has not been any discussion with the applicant with regards to the driveway. In fact, their plans submitted show existing driveway with 55-foot length and wide enough for 2 cars. So
okay.
As far as we understand, there is no improvement being made to the driveway itself. And so the code, as long as the parking area doesn't occupy more than 33%, and there's
okay.
enough room for 2 cars, the code is silent.
Right.
The garage conversion can move forward without having to improve that, as long as they can provide 2 parking spaces.
No, but I do think it was a well thought out plan that they have. For example, when I was reading it, I was thinking, oh man, you're losing a fire exit because I hadn't reached the part yet where they're adding another door off of what will be the half bath and laundry, I believe. So I mean, the plans look well thought out and clear. I don't have any issues with that. It's just a minor detail of aesthetic.
Yeah, and again, zoning doesn't get into whether or not the layout of the house. No, everybody has the way of laying out their house, but the only reason why we look at them is to ascertain whether or not this is going to be a separate unit or not.
Right. In terms of layout, my only concern was if you're losing an exit, and I'm just thinking in terms of like needing to get out of the house, like in a fire or something. But they lost an exit but gained an exit, so it's a net zero. So yeah, that's what I meant by well thought out.
Right, got it. Agreed.
You good, Councilperson Urban? Thank you very much. Councilperson Perrella, do you have any questions or comments, anything you want to come on and say?
Well, it looks fine to me. So they're going from 1.5 to 2.5, and I'm up for anything that improved property values. So
The property value. I hear you. Does anybody from the audience, anybody watching, if you guys want to come on, have any questions or any comments about this particular garage conversion? I think I see anybody. I'm not seeing any. All right, so right back here, we good, Councilperson Roman? Any last questions or comments? You're good. Councilperson Urban, any last questions or comments? You're good. Councilperson Perrella, any last questions or comments? We're good. Madam Manager, how we doing, Madam Manager? Anything? You're good. Mr. Attorney, we're good. Madam Clerk, we're good. And Juan, do you have any last questions or comments before I ask for a motion to move this to full council? Well, comments. I mean, you wouldn't question yourself, or you would question us, but you know.
Essentially, you have our recommendation in the staff report, which is for approval.
Yeah, I saw that. Thank you very much, Juan. Appreciate that. Do I have a motion to move this garage conversion variance to the full council?
I'll motion to move it to the full council.
Thank you very much. Motion by Councilperson Roman. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Who's that? Councilperson Urban? Councilperson Urban. And Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call, please?
Roll call. Member Perrella.
yes.
Member Urban.
Yes.
Member Roman.
Yes.
Vice Chair Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Moving right on to the next agenda item, which is this is a right-of-way vacation. We're going to be talking about 400 Northeast 85th Street. Juan, I'm going to have you start this off, but I know Hugh Gladwin is here, so we can go ahead and start to bring him on because this was about his property. But Juan, go ahead and you can start off talking about this.
Right. So you can see my screen. The applicant is requesting to vacate a right-of-way of 25 feet to the southeastern portion of Northeast 85th Street, the Indian Mound Trail. The purpose of this is a vacation, as you know. It's not that we're all going on vacation, is that we vacate a right-of-way, meaning a path or a thoroughfare that is not being used. In this case, it was a platted right-of-way that was platted back when the village was first built, but it was never realized, and it remained as part of two properties or adjacent to two properties. And so the applicants have requested a vacation of that right-of-way to then be given to half to the property to the north and half the property to the south. And hence the full right-of-way is 50 feet. The two applications that you're going to see, this is the first one, there's a second one afterwards, which is the one that will take the other 25%, right, if you approve. So as I said, this right-of-way is not really needed anymore. The right-of-way doesn't provide any benefit to the public or health, safety, welfare, connection. It actually dead ends onto the railroad. I'll show you an image in a minute. And the property owners have been maintaining it for the last 30 years. So obviously there is a reason, an interest from the property owners to actually own it. In part also because that right-of-way, the way that it was originally platted, it comes very close to some of the structures that are built on either side. And so it will also allow for a little bit more breathing room around those properties. And again, I'll show you an image in a minute. It doesn't really conflict with any plans that we have for the village, but I would be remiss if I did not mention two things. The first one is that it's very close to the Sherwood Forest Indian Mound, and so one of our concerns, which we have to bring up, is the potential of finding anything of archaeological interest. So our recommendation was that the applicant obtain a certificate to dig from the Miami-Dade County Office of Historic Preservation as a condition to approve this, and that they also get a certificate from utility providers to make sure we believe that there's nothing under there. But nevertheless, when the village or any municipality transfers land to a private property, we need to make sure that there's nothing underneath that we have missed. And this is honestly for many reasons, but one of them is obviously liability. So we want to make sure that that doesn't happen. Finally, there's another thing that I'd like to bring to your attention, and it is that, and Camila, I'm not sure if I can actually pull up the plan, but I can show you. Let me show you the boundaries. You can see here one of the properties. Pull it up. You can see here one of the properties. It's actually sideways, this plan here, but you can see it here more clearly. The village hall is actually north of you, and it goes down here, and it bends. This that you see here doesn't quite actually exist. It's a grassy area, and the road actually bends right here. So the property that you are seeing here is lots 4, 3, 2, and 1, and the portion that they are getting is the portion that they are requesting for vacation is this one. The next application, you will see that we are looking at this portion over here. The home actually, as you can see here, it comes quite close to the edge. So they would be getting this area in green here. And as you can see, this is the one-story dwelling unit that also backs into the canal. The reason why I wanted to also bring up another exhibit, which actually you have in your package, but I'm going to pull up a Google Earth, if you don't mind, to explain better, is that in the plans that are moving forward by the TPO, there is an intent to potentially have a station south of Del Portal, outside of our boundaries. So the right-of-way vacation
on 82nd. I'm sorry, like right on 82nd, right?
Between 79th and 82nd, right?
Right.
It's right. It would be right here. The current plans, again, these things might change, but the current plans are to locate one of the stations here for commuter rail, which unfortunately lies outside of our boundaries. And so in order to get to it from the village, one would have to either take, and I'm obviously, because it's a commuter rail, I'm going to be talking about pedestrian and bicycle, not about vehicular. It is within a quarter mile, which is the walkable distance that we consider. One would have to go down 2nd Avenue and take 82nd right onto the station, or head north and then cross at 87th, where the town, where the village hall is. Then continue over to Biscayne, unless the property over here is developed. Continue Biscayne or through the village back to 82nd and into the station. Now, the reason why I mentioned this is because even though we do recommend approval, I want to make sure that you, as the decision makers, are aware that even though right now this right-of-way here is not being used, it is village property, right? And as a planner, I need to think 40 years in advance. There could be a potential connection between that to the rails to trails. Sorry, not rails to trails, but with the Flagler Trail, which runs side by side with the FEC. Currently, there is no bridge, but I understand that it's being looked at by the study, and then over into the station. Now, there is other ways to get to the station. I'm not debating that, but I wanted to make the council aware that even though, again, we recommend approval because we believe that it will improve those two properties tremendously, there's also a question of whether or not an easement be left, and it might not have to be 50 feet for future pedestrian connection that may or may not happen. So again, what I'm presenting to you is a planner that plans in advance, sometimes with not necessarily certainty of what may happen in the future. And that's something that's part of our profession. But I wanted to bring that up. Again, our recommendation is for approval with the conditions that I mentioned before in terms of digging and utilities. And I'll stop there for any questions that you may have, or if Mr. Hugh.
Yeah, I'm gonna Hugh, I'm gonna bring you in 1 second, Hugh. Juan, those two conditions, it was a certification for a dig, correct?
Yes, there's a certification for digging that, you know, the property owners, I understand they don't have any intention to dig, but you know, property owners might not be there, or they might sell the property. So we want to make sure that there is a that certificate be provided.
And the second was it? What was the second one? The certification also? Was it also another certification?
We recommend that they get that the property owners ascertain whether or not there's any existing utilities that run through it.
Okay, existing utilities. I'm trying to write this down because when we do get to, if we have to motion, we have to motion with these conditions. So we're gonna have to say them on the record. That's what I'm trying to get. So it's a certification, certificate for a dig, certification for a dig, and utilities. And what would that be? Would that be a survey for existing utilities?
No, essentially they can get in touch with the different engineers at those departments and get a certificate that there is no lines.
Okay, all right. So they're both certificates then. Okay, all right.
Or letters. I mean, I think what we've seen in the past is that they don't provide certificates, and I
got you.
For Mr. Goldwyn to go on a witch hunt to try and find a certificate. They can provide a letter, and these days I believe that we could accept an email from the utility company that not certifies, but that confirms that there is no utilities right there.
Let me ask you this one. When you were pointing out about the possible future of the connection with the railway, under your expert advice, or on your expertise, I should say, do you think that if these two leave the ownership of the village, that these would be the best, most ideal ways to have that connection happen? I mean, because you said that there are other ways. Is the problem that, or some of the thought is that we don't have those other ways, aren't as good as the way that would exist amongst these two properties?
That's a very good question. There are other routes to get to the station. We are currently working with the PTO on several of their stations, and what we find always is that we want to encourage ridership for transit to function and to improve. So the shortest distance is typically the best to encourage that ridership. I would argue that the current condition of Biscayne is not ideal for pedestrians. The current condition of 82nd, it's pretty terrible for pedestrians. In fact, it's an emergency evacuation route, I believe, or maybe it's 79th. But there, you know, let me pull it up. I'm sorry. Where am I? It is, so it's a one-way pair that comes from 79th. It splits right here, and it's an evacuation route. So most of the traffic that goes through here is one way, and it's fast because it's one way. And the sidewalks here are really, really not ideal for pedestrian use. So again, there are other means of getting to the station. The first one obviously is Second, and the other one is Biscayne. The connection that I was showing you here, I lost it. The connection that I was showing you have too many tabs. I have too many tabs.
You're a hardworking man, my brother.
Maybe I close this. Here we are. This connection obviously would be faster and more conducive
Okay.
for
Okay.
pedestrians.
I see what you're saying. So you're saying that the two properties that are in question for tonight, those connections would most likely be the best connections. I got you.
The right-of-way vacation right here dead ends into the FEC line.
I got you.
That FEC line is where it's being planned. Again, there's no construction timeline yet on this, but it is being looked at as a pedestrian access for along the FEC. And again, well, I bring it up to you for your consideration, but you know, you also have to consider that it might not be very comfortable either. There's high-speed rail going through here, so walking there along the FEC line might not be the most wonderful experience either. But I would not be doing my job if I didn't bring to you all the considerations that we've had on the table about this application.
No, we want to hear all the information. That's the most important. Councilperson, I'm going to come to you, but let me go to Mr. Gladwin first. So I'm going to, for the committee, is it okay? I'm going to bring in Mr. Gladwin. And let me just be clear also, Juan, with all this information, you guys still recommend with these conditions, the two conditions that I have here with the certification for the dig and the no existing utilities. You guys do recommend, correct?
We do, and if I may, I'll give you a very brief reason why.
Of course.
If public transportation is going to come to this area, sidewalks and road improvements will have to occur, and that will be through Miami-Dade County. So we see those other connections being improved, and we hope that they're going to be improved well enough for pedestrians and bicycles to reach to the station from the village, so the residents can have good access. And weighing the fact that for 30 years these two neighbors have been keeping up with property that is not theirs, of a right-of-way that, you know, honestly, it's a remnant of really no historical value other than a curious, nerdy planner like me. There's no reason for the village to keep this right-of-ways, and that's just our opinion.
Thank you very much, Juan. Mr. Gladwin, like I said, after Mr. Gladwin speaks, I'm going to go back to the committee for any questions or comments for Juan or Mr. Gladwin. Hugh, what's going on, Hugh?
Hello.
How you doing, man?
Good. Okay, well, I'm, as you might imagine, delighted this is finally happening after so long. I do have a comment or an issue with the certificate to dig that I want to address, and then I also want to address the issue of access to the railroad station, greenways, and things like that. So let me start with the certificates and certificate to dig. The getting a letter or communication from utility companies about no, utility lines and so on. I can do that. That's no problem. I think it is a straightforward procedure. There is a problem with the certificate to dig. And I actually have the forms and everything else here in front of me. But basically, you fill out an application and it starts off with a checklist of what you want to do. And I'd have to leave the checklist blank because there's nothing on the checklist, that I plan to do with that property. I mean, other than acquire it. So the boundary of my property would change. The way the certificate works is this actually should be done by anyone in the archaeological zone currently, but suppose on this property I wanted to build a new septic drain field. In the certificate to dig application, is called, you check the box for utility excavation or something. Then you're required to hire an archaeologist and have a letter of agreement with the archaeologist who will provide services. And then the archaeologist comes on the property and he does what's called a shovel test and files a shovel test report. And the shovel test basically is they go in and they dig at locations into the surface to make sure there are no artifacts there that you would recover. So my problem is, since I'm not doing this, I don't see how I could get the certificate. On the other hand, as a resident of Sherwood, living in the Sherwood Forest Archaeological Zone, I would have to do this if I did any kind of construction on that property or on my property. So, and in fact, there hasn't been very much enforcement of that, including, and I don't want to say anything here, but I know the village, I don't think, has asked people for that to be done when they've issued building permits that require excavation in Sherwood Forest. I actually think they should. So anyway, that's my concern there. If this condition is there, I'm afraid that if you vote to pass this with the condition, I won't be able to comply because I'm not planning to dig. Now, I don't know, I guess I could get a letter from the county archaeologist or the historical people saying that I don't need to apply until I actually have plans to do something. I don't know, would that be sufficient? I just think this isn't the sort of correct time for that, and I wouldn't want to, hold it up.
Real quick, Hugh. Just to be clear. So basically, what Mr. Gladwin is saying is that since he's not planning on building on this additional property, then there's no way he can fill out that checklist on that sheet of paper to satisfy the certificate for a dig. But what he's saying is that if he ever decides to build on this area of the property that he's hoping to get, move to the next step after tonight, that if he's ever to build on that, he would need that anyway, and he wouldn't be able to build on that without it, and therefore he may not be able to get it now. But he's trying to say there's kind of like a stopgap, because if he's ever to build on it in the future, he wouldn't need it then. So it's not like he can get away with not having it in the future. Am I correct in saying that, Hugh? That's what you're saying?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Let me ask Juan. Juan, do you know anything about that, or what is that? How does that sound to you?
So the utilities, I think, is pretty simple because that's just getting a letter from the utility company.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and I'll do that.
So that one should be put to bed between now and council, right?
Yes.
We understand that it is a complicated process, and that's typical of the cases when you are doing anything in an archaeological area. And I'm glad that you mentioned that all construction should go through this process, because that's actually what it needs to happen. I don't believe that there's been anything coming through our desk in the area that requires that, but we'll keep that in mind for future ones. In terms of the Historic Preservation Office, Hugh, we can actually help you. We know the preservation officers in the county, and getting a certificate shouldn't be hard. There is no real need for a project to be on the books in order to get the test from the archaeologist. You do need an archaeologist to make sure that there is nothing underneath. Now, our recommendation again is for approval, because whether or not we find anything, we recommend that the village parts with the land and sells it to you, right? Or vacates that right away. But I think that it would be irresponsible for the village to give up a piece of land without knowing whether or not it is culturally relevant.
Historic. Yeah.
So we can help you with the communication, and we can help the county's historic preservation department to understand that even though there's no project, that we're not going to affect that's going to affect this. There may be in the future, so we want to know whether or not we need to protect it. So again, I do understand your frustration. It seems to be like there is a loophole here, or a little blip between what the county requires and what we require. Our ordinance actually requires this to happen. The ordinance that we actually passed recently, it was I have it here, I forget, I believe it was 2019, so a year ago. And then I understand Camila was telling me that we also need to go through Public Works Department, the Public Works Committee, which is, I believe is Councilperson Pirelas is the chair of that, and get approval from that, a motion from that department, from that committee. But both these two things are in our ordinance, so we have to go through the process. Or I am afraid that the other route is for us to change that ordinance. But again, the process is the process. I hate to be a stickler for it.
Well,
thank you, Juan. We have a process for a reason. Go ahead, Hugh. And there was something else also you wanted to say. That was the first part. I know there was a second part, so I'm just going to let you go ahead and say your second part also.
Well, I'll be glad to work with you, Juan, on whatever is needed. I mean, it's it's kind of like I could see giving the department notice, like we give the utility company notice to say, is there a problem here? However, if the utility company, let's say, said, oh, we don't know if there's a power line there, then it's their job to figure out if the power line's there. I mean, before we apply, or it's the village's job to figure out. So, what I'm kind of saying is, to ask me to have an archaeological survey done that I pay for before I even get the property. I mean, to me, that would be good to do. It'd be good to do in a lot of areas to find more about, the archaeology of the area, but it sort of seems like it would be an unnecessary delay at this point. I don't know. Let me leave it at that and see what we can work out, okay? I mean, I do understand that it is in the code and, we have to address it in one way or another, okay? Now,
very good.
The second point, as far as, access to greenways and things like that, I mean, in the first place, if at any future time, the village wanted to, get access back through that, probably, I mean, that wouldn't be a problem with me. But I also want to say that, and this is something I don't think I've talked to any of you out there about, but it's been kind of an open thing I've said over the years. I talked to the mayor about it at one time. We've had extensive discussions back when Jason was the village manager. But as you know, for probably almost 20 years now, I and other people in the area have been working on plans for parks and greenways and all kinds of things that would combine, access to transit and, flood issues and all kinds of stuff for the area. And one reason why we put together the Little River Conservancy was that we became aware in the 20-year struggle to acquire the land on the other side of the river for a park, that there needed to be an entity that's, that cuts across different areas that can apply for grants for doing these things. So We formed the Little River Conservancy. We just recently got our 103C, whatever it is, status. That's sort of basically Kristen and Adam and I. And we're now in a position where we could apply for grants to acquire land in cooperation with El Portal in the city of Miami. Fortunately, Pelican Harbor has acquired the land across from the river, which is wonderful, and it's now going to become a nature-oriented preserve. But I've always told people that if we could raise the funds to acquire my own property, 400 Northeast 85th Street, for the going market value of it to become a park for the village as part of this whole complex of parkland and everything else and greenways, I would do it. And that still stands. So to me, you know, the ideal connection between the village, you know, and the other side of the river and a footbridge would go through my whole property. You know, it could go through the, you know, if, I mean, I remember back, I joked with Jason that he would become the manager and live in the park with me and Mary or something in the house, but way back when. But the fact of the matter is, it would be a perfect thing, and it would be, for me, perfect than selling it to somebody who would build a mega mansion there. So I totally understand what you're saying, Juan. But I think, you know, vacating the property and me getting it right now doesn't change my feeling about any of those plans and issues. So,
Juan, do you have anything you want to say before I move to the committee?
No, there's nobody that I know that is more learned on the river issues and the flooding. So Hugh, thank you for your guidance in these issues over the years. No, our recommendation stands for approval.
Thank you. Hugh, wait 1 second, because I just wanted to ask you before I move to Councilperson Roman, I'm coming to you. Just to be clear, when we were discussing, you're not going to be building, like, you know, developing any type of construction on this property. You only want to just kind of keep it clean, just landscape it, correct? I just want to say that for the record, make that clear.
yeah, I mean,
I saw that in the application. I saw that about just landscaping. You just want to landscape it, make it look, continue to make it look pretty.
but we do that already.
Exactly. So there you go.
You know, I mean, the biggest issue is, you know, we discovered this because we wanted to add on to the front of our house, and we had drawings made, and the architect, Derek Smith, wonderful architect living in the village, you know, did some preliminary sketches, and he said, you guys, you can't make any changes to this house whatsoever. You know, or nobody who ever bought it could ever make changes to it because you're so close to the property line that if you made your house 1 inch bigger practically, it would be in violation for being too close to the boundary. So that's really the main reason. And it's really the main reason for our new neighbors across the way to do it. You know, the resale value of this property, you know, providing we don't turn it into a park, is tremendously reduced by the fact that we're sitting so close to the boundary. That's the main reason for doing it.
Thank you, Hugh. I appreciate it. Don't go anywhere. Councilperson Roman, the floor is yours, Councilperson.
Okay, so I have a question regarding the archaeology. The land belongs to us, the village. So isn't it in our best interest to make sure that you know, that area doesn't need to be protected? Because if it needs to be protected, it would be us protecting it. But I understand that he wants to acquire the property, the land. So is that why he's responsible for going through the process of getting the archaeology certificate to dig?
Yes, the answer is that yes, the applicant is the one that initiated this
Discussion.
application. So, you know, for us to undergo some cost, we will, I mean, again, we will help the applicant as much as we can in making sure that he has no that he overcomes every hurdle that the county may place in front of him. But it's really the applicants initiating this that makes him the interested party.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
Councilperson Roman, you good? Well, go ahead, Hugh. Go ahead. Respond.
No, I just could say that again, that whoever owns the property always has the obligation. I mean, the county archaeologist cannot stop construction. I mean, but there's been endless examples that they can, if it looks like there are artifacts or anything, or it's determined on the property, then they have to do their excavation and everything, for that. So, I understand that.
Thank you, Hugh. Councilperson Roman, you have any other questions or comments for either Hugh or Juan?
Not at this time. Thank you.
All right, I'll come back to you. You know that. Councilperson Erbaum, coming to you next.
Yes. Okay. So it sounds like there is a plan to move forward with Juan's assistant to acquire a certificate from the Archaeological Society or the controlling body. And Juan sounds like his confidence is high that will be able to be accomplished. Is that right, Juan?
Yes, as confident as one can be in working with the county.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, because we're headed down a path where we're going to promise Mr. Gladwin that we will find an avenue to success for him. And so I just want to understand how likely we are of being able to deliver on that promise, because it sounds like he is in good faith, willing to accept that help. And I just want to be sure that that faith is good. That's fine. I had the same concern, actually, Juan, that you did in terms of future potential use. I say it all the time. I'm still upset that years ago the village did not acquire the sanctuary. I feel like there's other opportunities that might be missed. Without considering anything other than will we need this parcel in the future. I've thought, with the development of the little farm, for example, coupled with Cavista, coupled with the plans that Virgin Railways has for their system, there is, I think, a possibility of something along the lines of like a nature trail river walk within El Portal. It might be small. I mean, it's not going to be, but I do see that as a possibility. And I'm actually incredibly encouraged to hear Mr. Gladwin talking about what he envisions, for that property right there. Would be wonderful for the village. I do have a couple of concerns in that regard. And that is that if that were to come to fruition, a railway station goes in, the right-of-way is maintained by the village, we give that access, then that is just one more, from a security point of view, that's one more entry point, quick access and quick exit into the village. And so I actually have a security concern with that, in addition to the fact that you would have a lot of pedestrian traffic increasing between that, in that little residential area. It's not actually feeding into another kind of hub. You have to transit through purely residential area to get anywhere else, 87th Street being the next closest point. So in terms of rail connectivity, I'm excited by that possibility, but I'm also a little bit reluctant from a security standpoint of, offering one more access point to our already sometimes targeted village. Who knows what that looks like in the future. But the point being that even if we weren't connected to the rail, I still see a great opportunity for something in terms of participating in the nature we have so close to us with the Little River and all that goes with it. And so, having said all of that in terms of, hey, maybe we should not give up this parcel, I also conversely feel like, well, the village hasn't done anything with it in however many years. It sounds like a great many decades. And so we had our opportunity. And if we have two residential property owners who are saying, hey, you know, this ties up some loose ends for us, then I think that's a great benefit to them in the village. And so I'm a little bit torn as to whether or not we really might regret, you know, this decision and need that right away in the future. But ultimately, I think I see your logic and how you came down on recommendation of this. And so at this point, my greatest concern is if we're going to make the good faith promise to Mr. Gladwin that we will be able to help him accomplish that certificate, because it does seem to be necessary and required, you know, from the village's point of view, ordinance and liability. Then I just want to be sure that if I'm saying yes to this, that promise will be able to be upheld.
Thank you, Councilperson Urban. Juan or Hugh, do you want to respond or comment on anything Councilperson Urban said?
I'll just say, I mean, if you vote to forward it to the village council tonight, subject to those conditions, and for some reason the county doesn't cooperate or whatever and doesn't issue the thing, then it's dead. I mean, that's just the way it is. But I think it's better. I think there's a good enough chance that we can work something out with the Historical Preservation Office.
Okay. On that point, then I have a question for Juan, or anybody else who might be able to answer this, maybe even the attorney. But so then let's say that all takes place and then the certificate is not able to be acquired. Does that simply mean that parcel will not be transferred until the certificate would be acquired? Or does that have a more grave significance?
If it's a condition, then there would not be the transfer. That's what you all would be recommending to the full council. But I don't want
the transfer would be in limbo then until that certificate would be acquired.
Right, if it's a condition, yes.
Okay.
But there's one other thing. You know, we still have one more committee to go to under the ordinance, which is the Public Works Committee.
I mean, and maybe I would have to confer with Camila, because again, the intent is to know whether or not this piece of land is historically significant. Now, you bring up a great point, all of you. And Hugh, the last thing that I know that not just us, but I know that the village doesn't want to do is to lead you down a rabbit hole. So I wonder whether or not the certificate to dig is the right document to seek, because what the intent that we're trying to get to is whether or not there is something there. But like you said, there's no intent to build. So what we're really looking for is for a study. So, and again, let's remember that these committees are to prepare for council. So this is the time to make changes to this, to these recommendations.
If I could,
we could change it from. I'm sorry, Hugh. Let me just finish.
Yeah, sure.
We could change that certificate to dig, which means there is nothing there. Go ahead and dig, to a historic preservation study, or I guess for them to look whether or not that, I don't know if it's called a historic, my wife is going to kill me, a historic preservation survey, I guess. And that way we will know whether or not it's significant, and the property owner will know whether or not he can dig in the future. But if the problem that I'm seeing and that you guys are bringing up, which is very valid, is if there is no certificate to dig because it is significant, then this whole thing, as the attorney mentioned, is dead in the water, and that's the last thing that we want for Hugh, or at least that's not what our recommendation for approval stands for.
Go ahead, Hugh. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, one issue is, you know, the village got in some major trouble over the Sherwood Forest Park with the county archaeologist a few years ago for doing that project without a certificate to dig. And there are other problems that have come up because the Indian Mound itself is a completely separate status as a historical monument, which is different from the, archaeological zone. You can do any kind of construction as long as it's cleared and they make sure that any artifacts have been recovered. The Indian Mound is in this very restrictive thing. And a lot of the neighbors in Sherwood Forest, including some of the folks that the village manager and I think Luis talked to when you did the park survey, we've been feeling, and actually one of the people you talked to is a good friend of Bob Carr, the former county archaeologist, who's been out recently looking at stuff in El Portal. And there's a feeling that, the village should really invite the county archaeologist, whoever's in that position now, to come out and do some kind of survey of the whole, the whole Sherwood Forest archaeological zone. When Bob Carr was the other day, we've been very interested in the mill trace, the outflow from a Kunti mill that was built right north of the Sherwood Forest Park. And this neighbor said he and Bob went down and they traced out the hole where the mill trace goes down from the spring outlet to the river. And, just like going on the ground, started picking up artifacts that were there. So our feeling is the village should really invite the county archaeologist to do that and develop some guidelines that would cover the whole future of Sherwood Forest as an archaeological site, so we can stay legal and also the village's development of parks fit in that. Now, that doesn't address my problem at all, but, I just think I'm going to have to work with Juan and Camilla as best we can. And if it, hopefully you guys will vote and the other committee will vote, and we get something that satisfies the requirement. And if not, it won't come up before the village council, or if it does, the recommendation will be to not pass it. So.
Let me go ahead, Juan. Go ahead. It looked like you were going to say something.
You're mute, Juan. Juan's muted.
Yeah, right. No, I'm sorry. I was trying to call my wife, who's the expert in historic preservation, but she's not answering. I think that we can change that. You can see my screen. We can change the certificate to dig to potentially a historic preservation survey to understand what's in there. And if then therefore our recommendation for approval, it will be with that condition, with that modification to the condition, if you'd agree.
That'd be perfect.
Because what I was going to say, and I'm going to bring an attorney in right now in a second, and then I'm going to bring an attorney in, then I'm going back to Councilperson Urban, because I saw you put your hand back up. I got you, and then after that, Perella, and then back to Roman, if Councilperson Roman, if she has anything else she wants to say. But let me ask this, and Mr. Attorney. So if we put in, that's what I was going to ask, if we change it to something more general, then whether it ends up being a certification to dig, or whether it ends up being archaeological study, or whatever it ends up being, if we say something general, that can still be the second condition, and whatever comes out of that would satisfy that second condition. If the wording is general enough, like what I believe Juan was just attempting to do.
Right. I'm looking at the application, and the application allows you to check off certain boxes as to what you're looking for in terms of a pronouncement from the department. So I guess get past the concern of having this being so cut and dry as to the certificate of dig. You can simply state that the applicant will obtain a certificate of dig and or a survey or other statement from the Historic Preservation Department that the site is not a historic preservation site, or whatever language they've used to permit the private ownership of the property.
If I may, Mr. Attorney, I would make a slight modification to that, because if we do find that it's worth something, that it has some historic value, we recommend that that still it gets vacated. But we will know that when Mr. Gladwin, or sorry, go ahead.
They wouldn't need, presumably they would not issue the certificate in that context.
Right, so that's why I'm changing the certificate to dig to a survey, because the survey will tell us whether it's significant or not, but that does not stop us from doing this transaction. The findings of so they're not going to give us a certificate to dig if it's significant, in which case this thing is dead.
Right, but I think we're saying two different things. Okay, you could still transfer the right of way with a limitation that's imposed upon being able to dig on the particular parcel, correct? So to the extent that there is a transfer of the right of way and the department determines that there is indeed a protected site or something of value for archaeological purposes, that would limit the use that has now been transferred to Mr. Gladwin. So that still wouldn't stop the transfer. So we're saying the same thing in different ways. He can continue to landscape and beautify the property as he's been doing for the last, I guess, couple of decades. He just wouldn't be able to improve the property and expand the footprint of the structure that's there.
Well, actually, that's not the case either, because, you know, I mean, every house in El Portal that's near to the Indian Mound, and I used to live in one of those houses. I mean, they're like total archaeological significance, every square inch of ground. That doesn't stop any modifications. It just means that the county has to come in, do an archaeological survey first, you know, recover artifacts, do everything they do so the value isn't lost. Then they will generally go ahead and approve the construction, or if they feel like the Miami Circle is something that needs to be absolutely preserved, then they'll say you can't do it. But you know, then at that point the county would acquire the land.
If I may, Mr. Attorney, the issue that I'm finding, which is a problem, is that Section 2463, Article A, subsection B, it says that an interested party, the interested private parties shall undergo a Miami-Dade County Office of Historic Preservation certificate to dig if the village properties in question is to be abandoned or vacated in an archaeological site. That's why I'm finding the problem, because this is a condition in our ordinance, which means that if there is something, the county is not going to provide that certificate to Mr. Gladwin, and therefore this thing is dead. That's why I'm wondering, and my question is of a legal matter. I'm asking whether or not we can change that certificate to dig, which could potentially kill this, to a historic preservation survey. And at the same time, we probably have to make that a modification in the ordinance, because there will be, at the same time, there's no other right-of-way vacation that I can think around an archaeological site. But that ordinance right now is the issue.
Right.
I guess what I should do is propose to plant a tree on the site and get a certificate to dig to plant the tree.
No, because Mr. Gladwin, if they find anything, they're not going to give you a certificate to dig. In which case, we cannot go through this transaction.
You know, I was joking, but
right. No, I know, but I understand why you're saying it. I'm just trying to see if the attorney would thinks that it's appropriate to change that certificate to dig to a historic preservation survey, which is the intent.
Right. Well,
it's not exactly the wording, but it's the intent of this, which we actually wrote together, right?
We'd have to modify the ordinance, or upon approval of the right of way, we'd have to specifically, when I say we, the council, that's to specifically make findings as to why that strict language would not apply to this particular application.
Fortunately, it would apply to almost any right of way
Right.
you'd ever grant in the future.
All right, let me let's do this. Let me go to Councilperson Urban real quick.
All right. Yeah. So my suggestion was going to be that we put an or statement in there. However, it sounds like because of the ordinance, an or statement might not fit that. So I guess my question is, if we put an or statement in, allowing the transfer to take place without a certificate to dig, because he used the or option of doing a survey, right? So no certificate to dig is done, the transfer takes place. Is our ordinance not still fulfilled if anybody on that property does choose to build something? They still would need a certificate to dig because they're in the Sherwood Forest Archaeological Zone. Is that not correct?
That's correct, because the village, would still have to comply with the county's regulations.
Right.
I think the question becomes, because we have an ordinance that has specific language concerning the right-of-way application that says that the certificate is a requirement, how do we get around that strict requirement if it's the desire of the committee to approve the right-of-way application without that requirement? There's two ways to do it. I would think the first way obviously would be to amend the ordinance, which would take 2 readings, or in the alternative, the application could be proposed as an ordinance approving the right-of-way and at the same time amending the right-of-way ordinance. So there wouldn't be any further time wasted in terms of the application.
Right. I would recommend that we move forward with the way that the recommendation is written, and we make this ordinance change and run it in parallel. Right. So, Mr. Gladwin, if Mr. Gladwin gets a certificate to dig because they can't find anything, fantastic. Let's move forward. At the same time, if they do find something and he cannot dig, we will have been working on, which is a very simple edit to this ordinance. It shouldn't, right, Mr. Attorney, it shouldn't be too complicated to make that modification from a certificate to dig to a survey.
Right, or we could just simply use the conjunction or. But let's not forget, there's still one stop left under the ordinance that still has to go to Public Works.
Correct.
Right?
Okay.
So what the point of me bringing that up is to simply state that even though we're going to have to do 2 readings of the ordinance, that there would still be time to do that given the next committee process.
So I have a new concern regarding the changing of the ordinance, and that would be currently there is protection for a potential archaeological find because the ordinance currently requires a certificate to dig, which in theory ensures that there would not be something of archaeological value. And so if we change the ordinance to then allow the or exception of a survey, then we would want, it sounds like you're equating the survey's ability to determine if there's archaeological value there with what they do with the shovel test.
Right, but don't forget that this is not about building anything. This is about transfer.
No, I understand, but I'm saying if we change the ordinance, right? But what we're trying to do essentially is ensure that if there would be something found, the transfer would be able to continue to take place.
Right.
And my concern is that we'd be changing the ordinance to allow all exceptions instead of going down the path of trying to figure out what we might do with this singular exception. And so I guess I'm on board with moving this issue to the council. Don't worry about changing the ordinance. And then if something is found, then the council can work through a mechanism to do that particular transfer without having to affect the ordinance, which does seem to have a significant value and seems to be a well-placed ordinance for almost exactly this situation, to be sure that we would not destroy something of significant cultural value.
Can I disagree?
Yeah, absolutely.
Respectfully.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I believe the ordinance should be changed, and the proper thing is to require the survey. You know, if you do the survey and they find that there's artifacts or there's things of archaeological significance, you know, then suppose then you vacate it and I get it. I'm still governed by, you know, the requirements that I would have to get. I mean, they would have then done one step.
Okay. So then Mr. Gladwin, you're recommending that the ordinance does in fact get changed and just simply change it to a survey being required as opposed to a certificate to dig. Is that right?
Well, I think so, because if it's transferred and I get it, there's always a requirement to get a certificate to dig if I'm going to make any kind of change that's on the list of changes that are, you know, any kind of excavation or building or anything else.
Okay. And then Mr. Gladwin and Juan, it sounds like between the two of you, you seem confident that a survey would accomplish the same, would be as efficient or as successful at knowing if there was archaeological significance, in that you're equating a survey and a certificate to dig in terms of the ability to determine if there is something of value there.
Yes, our intent is to discover, not necessarily to disturb it.
Sure.
And
Okay.
neither is Mr. Gladwin. So this is about a transfer of property, which can happen whether or not it's significant or not. And then when we go to build, or when the applicant goes to build, that's when, you know, you get a certificate to dig, in which case it would be disturbing. And if they don't get the certificate to dig, then they cannot build.
Right.
Essentially.
Okay. So I just want to be clear that you guys are saying that by requiring simply a survey, we're not diminishing the ability to know if there would be cultural significance there.
That's right. And
Okay.
and in fact, I'll just add this. If it hasn't been done by the building department, we need to make sure as the village that in the future, anything that is being applied for in this area gets a certificate to dig, because again, these Indian mounds are very,
Absolutely.
it's a very unique thing that the village has that would be very sad to lose.
Yeah, I mean, one reason why I didn't like that language was it was sort of like saying, oh, I'm going to get a certificate to dig, get a blanket permission to do anything. You know, that's not the case. I mean, you always have to get a certificate to dig if you're going to do any kind of construction, you know, whether it's private property or village property.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilperson Erbaum. Let's move to Councilperson Perrella.
Finally.
It's all good, my brother. In all due time.
Well, I have a lot of concerns with this. And my be all over the place because I have time to make notes and whatever, but there's a lot of questions here. And one of them is, so like one said at the beginning, we're not considering just Mr. Gladwin's property, but the one next to it, which it was recently sold. So the new owner, it's also requesting this right away. And in total, we're talking about 50 feet of frontage, pretty much, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. So it's 50 feet by roughly 70 in length, right? Because we have 60 something on one side and 80 something on the other side, going back to the rail. So that's a significant amount of land to me. Sherwood Forest is already like a very like well-priced piece of like the village, like as far as like property values. It's probably 30% more than any other part of the village, right? And In fact, that we, the villagers or the city never was not aware of this piece of land, because being that, and I pass by almost every day, and it looks like it was divided a long time ago with trees, and it was never marked or determined as a path or right of way or any type of like other than a private property. So it's kind of like now that we discovered that it's actually village property, and I see that I also, Mr. Gladwin, sorry. You said it's not the first time that this is actually officially that you're requesting this, but you've been trying to acquire these for a long time, right? So it's been, we even had an ordinance changed or created just to have the council to vote on this. Isn't it correct? Right, Mr. Powell or Gladwin?
Well, yeah, it's been,
Okay.
I mean, it was,
So,
it
okay,
turned
it's
out
been,
there was no procedure, so they needed to
Right.
make a procedure.
Okay. So the city, the city already knew about this or started, like firsthand from you, right? Like a few years ago.
Yeah, 6 or 7.
Okay. And I mean, again, it's to me, and I wouldn't, I don't have a problem if it's just a little strip of land or whatever. But guys, this is big. Like between the two properties, they're holding a big piece of land. And I see that Mr. Gladwin on his application, even though it says it's pure landscaping and stuff like that, it also says something to have enough distance to make any kind of like improvement to the property, to the building and stuff like that. Now, I see the closest point by Juan's map here, or the survey. The closest point from the property to the property line is 20 feet, right? That's the closest point, which is a part of a front. And then you have the fence, which is 25 feet from the property line.
Right.
There's plenty of space because the setback is only 5 feet. So whether, if in the future they need to improve something, they still have plenty of space, more than 10 feet. Now, my issue comes with, since we know this is a right of way, and it's, like I said, it's a nice, decent piece of land, like 50 by 70 is what? How many square footage is that one? Because I think it's even the same width as the nature trail, which we now learned also that it's a right of way, the nature trail.
Yeah, this is a right of way.
And it's about the same width, guys.
This is
like the park, it's not designated as a park, like we don't hold the deed for that park one. Yes, we just learned that.
Yes, but the trail.
It's a property of El Portal. It's just that it's not, it's also considered more like a right of way, a nature trail.
Yes, but the nature trail takes you from A to B. This takes you to nowhere, right at this point.
Right, but it's still, I mean, my point is this, we've been looking for, to create another park, maybe like a garden, like a butterfly garden, or, I mean, I hate to have like a dog park next to my property, but even though I'm a dog owner, but we've been looking for parks. And so this is a great piece of land that we have over here. And when we say about vacation of the right of way, are we saying to give it away or to sell it to the property owners?
So I would have to research a little more, but this is a right of way. This is not a platted property, so it would have to be platted as a property.
Okay.
And then there's a process for that. It's not as simple as turning a street into a park. I have to also say that, I mean, we never saw this as a trail or as a park because number one, it's 20 feet away from Mr. Gladwin's property, and the city really cannot sell right of way, or you know, we that's why it's a right of way vacation, not a right of way sale. Essentially, right of ways. Again, I don't want to get into the history of it all, but essentially, right of ways are. And I'm going to say this very generally, so please don't hold me to the exact words that I'm going to be saying, but right of ways are private property donated to the city for the public good. That's why it's a right of way, right? So when you give when you vacate a piece of right of way, in this case, it typically is an alley, because those are always the ones that are being vacated, and it's rarely a street. In this case, it's a street, but the street has never been used. So they really, essentially what happens is that they get, it's not donated, the word that I'm looking for. The vacation of them, they get transferred over to those property owners that immediately abut them, and that's why typically it's done at 50% on one side and 50% on the other. You can't have a right of way. I've never seen a right of way be donated 100% to one owner if there's another owner on the other side, because that's not fair. It's not the way it is.
Right.
And in places, it's not the case in Florida, but in cases like I know for a fact, in North Carolina, your property actually starts at the center of the street. And that's how you measure things, from the center line of the street. And then you measure back. In Florida, it's from your property line, which is outside of the right of way. So it's a little different. But we cannot sell a right of way, and this is not a platted piece of land. This is a right of way.
Right.
Now,
there's a legal process that we can actually make it as a platted piece of land, not combining, it's being divided by the two property owners, but in reality there's a total of 50 in width by 70.
So the method would be to retain it as a right of way, and
pretty much the piece of
Sorry, there's some lag. I'm not trying to interrupt. There's some lag in the internet.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a good connection. So.
Sorry. So I was going to answer that by saying that it would remain a right of. What you're proposing is to keep it as a right of way and change its use from unused to an active right of way, a greenway, let's say, call it a greenway.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about, like you said, in an alleyway that typically have 8 to 10 feet. We're talking about 50 feet in width over here. So I'm very concerned. And like I said, we've been looking for something to create a park, even considering the amount of, Cavista project to acquire a park, which it would be super costly, being that the prices of a property has increased a lot here in El Portal. So that's my concern, and the fact that it has an even like historic name, Indian Mount Trail, and all of that. We just I'm new in the council, and as I'm learning all of these, it's a little bit concerning to me. Like even to honestly give away this piece of land. It's a big space to like.
So the reason, I'm sorry, again, I'm not trying to interrupt this. There's a lag in the internet. The reason why we didn't think that was, honestly, it's not that we didn't think that it wasn't a good idea, is that we never thought about it because it just didn't seem like the right way of using this space. For one, and with all due respect, I'm just telling you from a planning standpoint, putting a park 20 feet away from someone's bedroom, front bedroom in a piece of land that is a right of way where, you know,
Well, let me interrupt right there, because again, the same issue with Nature Trailer Park. Their backyard is like backed with the nature trail. And now that we learned that it's a right of way, they can all start, you know, requesting the same thing to vacate, for us to vacate the right of way. And so they have no problem with people going and seeing their backyard or the back of their property. And, you know, it's, it opens, you know, a lot of things. And that's pretty much,
yeah. You know. I hear you, Councilperson Pereira. Let me just say this also. I understand what you're saying. You know, the nature trail is to the back of individuals' houses. I think, first of all, it's kind of different when you're talking about something like in the front of somebody's house. I think it's a whole different situation in a way. Also, I just want to say, and Hugh will tell you this, or tell us this. They've been maintaining this for all this time anyway, so that it didn't, you know, get like, you know, outgrown and crazy and look, you know, all messed up and things like that. So in a sense, they've been like, you know, treating it as kind of like quasi, you know, their property already by maintaining it and taking care of it. But I do think that there's a significant difference with the nature trail being that, yes, you have people walking through that, and it's to the back of individuals' houses. And most of the people, you know, most of those people have fences up and things like that, but you can't put like, you know, some huge fence in the front, like right in the front of your property, like they have, you know, at the nature trail. And it's different when something's in the front of your house. When people are congregating in the front of your house, like that, I think that might be a little bit different for these two.
I'm just,
I hear what you're saying.
Yes, I'm just saying because of, you know, that hitting the right of way, and that's one of, you know, also, and let's, I mean, and again, I just have trouble like knowing that we're giving away 50 feet of land. It's, I mean, 50 by 70. How much is that? 3,500?
You're talking about square footage?
Square footage.
Well, if you really want to go there,
I mean,
look at the plat map of Sherwood Forest was designed with these colossally wide avenues through it.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, if the village really got strict about requiring a survey of every single house there, you know, there's a lot of people that would lose a third of their property. I mean, the whole area needs to be replatted. My thing on this is, I guess major reason is my attorney said you need to fix that in case you ever want to sell the house to someone who wants to modify it. For me, you know,
so that's I'm sorry. And so that's the issue right here, that you know, in the future, the future owner wants to do something, then we're gonna be with, you know, in the same scenario.
Well,
here.
I guess I'm a little, I mean, you know, you stand in my front yard and it seems like a really big front yard with all kinds of trees that have grown up there since my mother, you know, a long time ago.
Limbo is right
yeah,
there.
the reality is, you know, about a little less than half of that entire front yard is on this strip because it winds around all the way. It includes the end of the driveway, you know. So I say, conversely, I mean, suppose the village decides they need, you know, this is a need of the village to put in a sewer lift station on that property. It'd be a very good place to put one, probably an ideal location. They'd come in, they'd put in the lift station, they'd cut down a bunch of my trees, and I'd have a much smaller front yard. I mean, you know, I mean, that should be your consideration if you really want to think about the property. I guess, you know, there are industrial things the village could do with that property too.
No, and I know also, so, and once, you know, it also brings me to like, you know, what, I don't know, I know your intentions and your, you know, they're wonderful. And, but we also, doing the same thing with the next door neighbor, which is also applying for the vacation of the right of way, another 25 feet. And once you fence those properties, I mean, who knows what goes inside? So it's like, and I've seen it because I stopped by yesterday, and you can even see the mark of the water running through there. So right now, maybe it doesn't have, there's no issues there with flooding and all of that. And that may be why the water is actually flowing through and going all the way to the back. So once you have, I know that you already have the fencing on your side, but the next door neighbor doesn't. So what if that starts interfering also with like the storm water drainage and all of that? So in any case, and again, that's, considering everything over here, if it is were to pass or whatever, we need the frontage to do the storm drainage in the future and everything you guys are, considering for the future, because that could, become an issue in your area.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's worse issue for the neighbor because the edge of that property is only 16 feet from his
I
house.
saw it. Yeah, from
Yeah, so.
All right, thank you, Councilperson Perrella. Before I go to Councilperson Urban, I think you had your hand up. Did you still have your hand up? Is that from now or before?
No, I put my hand up again.
All right, go ahead, my brother.
Okay, so my initial reaction is very similar to Mr. Perella's in terms of, do we really want, we need to really seriously consider if there's not a need for this land through the village. It sounded like Juan had the same concern as he thought about his recommendation for this. And I do believe I agree with Juan that because of the dead end, because of the specific location of this right of way, I'm 6'3", over 200 pounds, and I don't know that I would want to walk down a dead end nature trail at any point. I don't have good experiences with such things in the past. So, and so additionally, looking at the opportunity for something like, again, connecting with rail, something very significant. Again, because of the location of this right of way, I have very serious concerns about, is that a net benefit to the village? Because the location of this would be bringing additional foot traffic through an area that I would consider inappropriate for bringing additional foot traffic. Would be, there's nowhere for anybody to go except for directly into purely residential area. They have to walk at least a full block to get to 87th, right? And so for a similar reason of that access, we're already experiencing our law enforcement hotspot is essentially in a similar area because of there's lots of places to the overgrowth, there's shadows, there's it's quick, you can get through quick and easy. There's not a lot of people out, so there's not a lot of people watching, and so so already we have concerns with security within Sherwood Forest, and I actually feel that by vacating this right of way, we kind of button up one of our pieces of exposure, and I think that for me is the larger concern, is the things we could do with that property. One, we haven't done yet, and we've had decades to do it. And then two, what we want to do just doesn't seem to fit within what that exact specific space is. So, but I do have many of the exact same concerns that Mr. Perrella has. And it sounds like Juan had those concerns in mind as he went through his decision whether or not to recommend this. And so it might be a suspenseful vote here tonight, but I don't know if I have anything more specific to say in terms of a question or comment, but there you have it.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Urban. Is there anybody from the audience right now that has anything that they want to say about this particular item? This item that we're currently on? I don't see any. Let's see. No, I don't see any. All right, so I'm going to come back to the council. Okay, there's a lot that we have to, not a lot, but there's some stuff we have to go over. But Councilperson Roman, is there anything else that you want to, any comments, hold on, I think, yeah, any comments, any questions? Councilperson Roman?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councilperson Urban. All right, before I go to Councilperson Urban and Councilperson Corella, because you two seem to have many questions. So, Juan, where we're at, Juan and Mr. Attorney also might want to listen to this, or just be aware of this. So where we're at. So if we start to talk about passing this to the full first of all, Mr. Attorney, this has to go also to the
Public Works.
But the same exact ones. So will we be passing this to the full council or passing this to?
No, you're making a recommendation from this committee to the full council, then it has to go to the Public Works Committee, and then they'll make a recommendation.
They'll make their recommendation separately, but it'll be the same thing. Okay, so we're still passing it through the full council with the recommendation. Okay, so where we're at is we're at the point to where we would have to pass it with two conditions. The first one, I'll get to the first one in a second, but the one that we don't have any argument over, any confusion about, is the one about existing utilities. Correct. We're all there on that one. That's one of the conditions, that there's no existing utilities. Okay, so the quote unquote first condition is the one that we have. It's a little blurry for us. So we're talking about getting a certificate. Initially it was getting a certificate to dig. That was kind of like going back and forth. So then we started talking about a survey. So now we're at the point to where we can either say we're going to keep it at, go ahead, Juan, go ahead.
Sorry, just to make sure that we're going down the right path. The ordinance currently says a certificate to dig. So if you pass, you must pass with the ordinance.
Yes.
Unless we change the ordinance, which hasn't passed yet. So for now, Mr. Attorney, please correct me if I'm wrong, but it needs to go with what the ordinance says, which is the certificate for digging.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. I was going to say that our first choice is to pass it as is with the same certificate to dig. But I was going to say, but then we get into a second choice, it gets more complicated, because then we would have to figure out a way to pass it with change language, and at the same time start to change the ordinance into also the change language, Mr. Attorney. And this is where it would get kind of like.
No, what you'd have to do, if the certificate is not going to be required, you'd have to amend the ordinance. So you can, as a committee, approve the recommendation from staff, but also as part of the recommendation to the council, to yourselves at the full council, is to amend the existing ordinance to have the flexibility to require a certificate of dig and or a survey. But that would still require an ordinance with two readings to change the existing ordinance.
Okay. Mr. Councilperson Urban, what do you think about what the, Councilperson Roman, let me come to you first. Councilperson Roman, do you have any comment about what the attorney just said? So we have the original form, we can just leave it at certificate to dig, or we can say certificate to dig and or survey, but we also have to amend the ordinance simultaneously at the same time. Councilperson Roman, just coming to you if you don't have any
Yeah,
comments.
I'm for the survey.
Okay.
So I like having the language of both.
Okay, perfect. We'll write that down. All right. Councilperson, thank you very much, Councilperson Roman. Appreciate that. Councilperson Urban, what do you say about either or? Leaving it the same or saying and or with a survey and also amending the ordinance simultaneously?
It sounds like if we change the language to survey in terms of the language of the ordinance, so in terms of the language of the ordinance,
and or, it would say certificate to dig and or survey.
Right.
Okay.
I mean,
in terms of the language of the ordinance, it sounds like it'd be better if we switched to survey. So as far as this issue, I would be in favor of and or.
Great.
Mr. Attorney.
Yeah, I think you're polling, which is fine, but the application has to pass under the current ordinance. So to be clear, if the committee is going to accept staff's recommendation, it would be to pass it with the current conditions. But the second motion or the second recommendation to the full council would be to amend the existing ordinance to allow for the flexibility of the certificate and or a survey.
Okay, so first we have to pass the first one through as is. Then we do a second one for the amending of, okay.
Correct.
The only reason why I was asking everybody, I'm trying to get the right language that they want in it, so that when I come to you and when we motion for that, when we get to that part, I have the language that the people want inside. I don't want to leave any of the language out. So first, you guys, we have to pass the original one, and then we'll go back and pass the amendment or fail the amendment or whatever. So do I have a motion to approve? Hold on one second. Let me just get this right.
Nice.
Yeah, go ahead, Hugh.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and I absolutely can't speak about my neighbor because I suspect he's under much more severe time constraints, but I would be willing to live with changing the ordinance, waiting for it to go through, you know, and then doing the survey. I mean, I understand, you know, a few more months isn't going to make that much difference for me. But again, I can't, I mean, I know he bought his property from the court, and there may be really severe restrictions on him. But in my case, it's not going to make that much difference.
Hugh,
I mean,
just spoke to Megan, who has done dozens of these certificates to dig, and we'll help you with that. She has gone through this a lot. So no,
Yeah.
it just to clarify the timeline, Mr. Gladwin, if this committee passes a motion to recommend a amendment to the existing ordinance, that's a simplified process. I could simply draft something and that would be on the upcoming July committee council meeting for first reading. So it wouldn't be protracted. I think what may take some time is waiting for the next Public Works Committee meeting to hear the second leg of this application process. But I don't have to wait for the Public Works Committee meeting in order to recommend a change to the ordinance once the committee has passed a vote to ask for a change.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we, I'm going to get the motion for the original the way it was, and then we'll talk about the amendment afterwards. But before I do that, is there anybody that wants to say anything else? Councilperson Roman, we good? Councilperson Urban, we good? Councilperson Perella, are we good? We good? Mr. Juan, is there anything you want to say before before I ask for a motion on the first original? Anything you want to say, Juan? You good? Mr. Attorney, anything else you want to say? You good? Madam Manager, anything you want to say? You good? All right.
I want to say one thing. When I became village manager for Village Developer Tel, Mr. Gladwin was one of the first people who came out to introduce himself. Well, he didn't come out. He sent me. He called me. I think it was. He called me and he said, "There's a packet of information I'm going to bring you, and this was this item." So I've been village manager for almost 3 years now. I'm glad to see this is finally getting some movement for Mr. Gladwin, and I know that the woman who lived there previously, you know, we wanted to do some things quickly, but we're finally here. We have to do things the right way, and I think it's a good thing that we're, you know, finally talking about these things, and everyone is seeing, you know, just the fruit of this effort. I know Juan worked a lot on this over the years as well, and I'm just glad it's finally getting here. So cheers to you, Mr. Gladwin. We're finally getting closer to a result.
Thank you. I could wait a little more if I need to.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Madam Manager. We appreciate that. Madam Clerk, anything, questions or comments before? Okay. Do I have a motion, you guys, to move to full council? The right-of-way vacation, what would we call this situation? The right-of-way vacation at 400 Northeast 85th Street. What would that be?
A right-of-way vacation application.
Application. Right, it's a long one. The right-of-way vacation application at 400 Northeast 85th Street. Do I have a motion to move these recommendations to the full council?
A motion.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Roman. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Urban. Madam Clerk, may I please have a roll call?
Roll call, Member Perrella.
No.
Member Urban.
Yes.
Member Roman.
Yes.
Vice Chair Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1.
Okay, so now we're going to the amendment, you guys. So now we have to figure out exactly what language we want. And we're talking about amending the ordinance at the same time. So we're talking about two different things simultaneously. Mr. Attorney.
It's just simply a motion to instruct the village attorney to draft an amendment to the current ordinance concerning right-of-way vacation to provide for a certificate of dig, or in the alternative, a survey.
Okay.
May I?
Yes, Juan.
Mr. Attorney, that I think would be the clearest direction. I wonder if the committee would direct us to look into look at how to modify that ordinance to better address the intent behind it. In other words, not give us the exact direction, but let us look into it so that we can change that ordinance to make sure that we discover what is there. And by the way, there's not that many right-of-ways in the village, so it's not like this is going to come up every day. But if you leave it a little bit open to us, I would like my team, who has some experience in historic preservation, to have a little bit of wiggle room to make sure that we find the best solution.
Okay.
So Juan, essentially what you're saying is that you don't want it to say dig and or survey, because there might be something else other than a survey, like some other language or another word that we can use that might satisfy what we're looking for better. Is that what you're saying? We don't want to lock down the exact words that we're trying to find right now.
So to be very honest and transparent, while this was going on, I had a conversation with my wife, who used to be the historic preservation. She said that it's not a big issue to get a certificate to dig, even if there's something there. I didn't want to put this on the record because I don't know for sure, so I'm leaving myself some wiggle room here. But what she said is that there's not a big issue to get a certificate to dig, and that there should be no cost to the applicant. There should be, okay, don't tie me to this. There should be no cost to the applicant because the county has its own staff archaeologist who will come out and dig for you and tell you exactly what's there. So apparently it's not that big of a deal. And if it's not that big of a deal, then we maybe should leave it the way it is. But I would like to actually call the county and see if it is not a big deal, and then we don't have to go through this whole thing. But give us a little bit of wiggle room to modify it to best suit the intent that we have, which is to make sure to see whether or not there is a cultural interest in this land.
Mr. Attorney?
Right. So it's the same thing I said, and just say, and also to provide any of other recommended changes to implement, to effectuate the purposes of the right-of-way concerning culturally sensitive landscape.
Yeah, I think that, Juan, if we have a dig and or survey, it doesn't mean that we're losing the dig, right? So the dig is still there.
Not if you say or.
Right. No.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes, that's either or. Yeah.
If I may, Mr. Chair, let me just clarify.
Of course.
The direction to the attorney and the village's consultant would be to propose an amendment to the existing ordinance that would either require a certificate of dig or a archaeological survey and any other recommendations that would effectuate the purposes of the right-of-way ordinance to respect archaeologically sensitive grounds or landscape. Is that fine?
The only thing with that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Juan, if we say dig or survey, then, well, I guess, does the survey still protect us like a dig would? Like, I don't want people, like, if a dig would protect us more than a survey, and we say or the survey, I guess that's what we were going to say earlier when we were going to say and or anyway. But if a dig protects us more than a survey, then somebody can bypass the dig and just go with a survey if the survey doesn't protect us as much. I don't see that.
No, because this language lives within, I'm sorry, there's some feedback. This language lives, is that me? This language lives within the right-of-way vacation. It doesn't live within the language of building a new home. So when you build a new home in an archaeological area, you need a certificate, and so what I'm trying to ascertain is whether or not number one, that the certificate of dig is possible to get, because even if there's what Megan and the historic preservation, my wife basically is my historic preservation guru. What she was saying is that if you can get a certificate to dig, and if they find something, they will document it and they will do whatever they need to do, and you still get a certificate to dig. So I need to look into that in more detail to make sure that, you know, we are not putting an unsurmountable hurdle for Mr. Gladwin, because he's not, and we don't know if he's going to build. But right now, what we have in front of us is a right-of-way vacation. We don't have an application for new construction. So my recommendation would be, and that's why we are recommending approval, my recommendation would be, let's get this through, let's get it transferred, and if ever any of these two properties wants to build, not just within this right-of-way, but within their property, we will need a certificate of appropriateness to make, and a certificate to dig, to make sure that they are not disturbing some cultural significant place.
So just to be clear for the committee, what Juan is saying is that we move to the next agenda item. That's basically what he said. He said just leave what it is for now. We've already passed through the vacation for Mr. Gladwin's property. We just did that recommendation to the full council. And so what he's saying right now, give them time to work, leave it as it is. Let's move to the next agenda item. Councilperson Roman, what do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a rush to make that second motion. This requires another reading, right? So we can always bring that up if it's needed.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Roman. Councilperson Urban, what do you say?
No, I agree with what Councilperson Roman was saying, and it sounds like, Pluservia's recommendation was to pass this already. I try not to put too much weight on Juan's shoulders, but again, that is part of what we pay Pluservia for, and we certainly, for me personally, I weigh Juan's expertise and the team that he has around him with a great deal. In addition, honestly, it's Mr. Gladwin's presence that also guides my decision making in this, and so it does sound like they have high confidence. Certainly, our recommendation coming from the urban planners that we are, using as consultants, are recommending that confidence is high that we will be able to get the transfer accomplished simply by having, assuming that the motion we just passed goes to council and passes itself. It sounds like we have very high confidence that the transfer will be successful in terms of, really being able to acquire that certificate to dig. So after all of those words, I guess what I'm saying is, I do agree with Councilperson Roman that that we can. My wife hates it when I say this, but we can burn that bridge when we get to it. So.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Erbaum. Councilperson Perrella, what say you?
Well, okay, you already know my point of view, so it's not, none of this is gonna change what I think, but, as one was highly recommended. No. I mean, as one was highly recommending approval of this, I still have, same concern of why should be, also weigh the other issues of becoming, some plans in the future and this and that. So.
Well, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. We appreciate, what you say. We appreciate your passion, my brother. And before I let Juan speak, I just wanted to say, well, it's coming to your committee. So we're going to be discussing it again, and you'll have the gavel, and you can say whatever you want to say again, my brother. You'll have all the control when it comes to your committee. So it'll be in your committee soon. So there you go. We'll be talking about it again. Juan, go ahead and say what you were going to say.
Yeah, I was just going to say, just for clarity's sake, all I'm saying is what's on the table right now is whether or not we change that ordinance. All I'm saying is that let us look whether or not it's necessary to change it. Because if the ordinance is good enough to protect that potentially culturally significant land, then we'll leave it like that. What I would not want to do, and the manager was right on, Mr. Gladwin has been talking to us about this for ever since we started, and I would hate to stop him just because of a technicality. I want to make sure that we cross all the T's and dot all the I's. But if it's culturally significant, that doesn't mean we cannot transfer it. I just want to make sure that it gets protected, but it doesn't matter who owns it as long as it's protected. So again, I'm actually trying to make it more, or I'm trying to say that if we can protect it with the language that we have right now, there's no reason to waste time in changing the language. So give us that. What my proposal is that you give us enough room to maneuver for the attorney and us to make sure that the ordinance is what it's intended to do, which is to see whether or not. So, sorry, it's long-winded.
Thank you very much, Juan. Thank you very much, Councilperson Perrella. All right, you guys, we're going to get ready to move to the next agenda item. Let me just say, while we move to the next agenda item, that, well, first of all, Hugh, after all this time, Hugh, the wheels are starting to turn for you, Hugh. The wheels are starting to turn for you. So, I know it may not be everything you want right now, but at least we cranked that car in the cold weather, and at first it was, but now it's it turned over, Hugh. That car engine turned over, so at least we got it started. But I appreciate you being here, Hugh, and thank you for everything. Is there anything you want to say before we move on? Is Hugh good? Hugh's good? All right. Okay, so you guys, before we move on to the next agenda item, what was it? It was F2, the garage conversion we did. No, it was it was F2, the garage conversion. Hold on, there's two F2s. The garage conversion that we did, the woman, Miss Jessica Fuentes, who, remember when we started, I said, the applicant is not here, so unfortunate. She did come on while we were discussing Hugh's item. She came on. She was here for a while. I saw her name. She was here for a while, but I guess we just, we were on this item for a pretty long time, and she couldn't wait, until we were done with it, because I was going to congratulate her and tell her, we're moving on to the next step. Excuse me, Madam Clerk.
Can you hear me?
Excuse me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, yes.
Oh, she did email me that she came in late because she had to work, but then she left and she was just asking. So she emailed me and Camila and the manager, and I answered some of her questions. She already knows. Okay,
thank you very, very much, Madam Clerk. We appreciate that. All right, you guys, let's move on to the next one. This is like the same one we just were on. It is the next property. And so this is 8501 Northeast where's it, 8501 Northeast 4th Avenue Road. And this is the same topic, the right-of-way vacation. Juan, if you want to go ahead and get us started. I did see something else that was different when I was going through this application. They had a mission of they want to build a pool in the future. But I know that's not right now. That's not that can of worms. But I did see that in the application. They said that they did want to build a swimming pool in the future. But we'll see what's up with that. Juan, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Right. So again, this is, I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. It's a very similar application. So through the explanation, I will answer any questions you may have. But as an application, it's the same as the one before. The applicant is requested to vacate the right-of-way of 25 feet in the northeasterly portion of 85th Street in the End Mound Trail connecting Park Drive, Alameda Street to the FEC right-of-way between 8501 Northeast 4th Avenue and 400 Northeast 85th Street. I'm pulling it on the screen so that it is on the record, the report. But the property is looking for a little bit more room for, between the home and the property line. And the applicant is also looking at getting a better access for their vehicles to get in and out. I'm not going to get into what the intent of it is, again, because this is not an application for construction, change, modification. So this is essentially just about the transfer of land between public and into private. Again, the same issues apply with regards to that I brought earlier on about the connection to the FEC, about the certificate of digging, the certificate to dig from Miami-Dade County. Our recommendation is exactly the same as it was in the previous application. It's approval with conditions, and those conditions would be the same certificates to dig as well as the utility certificates. I will so you may have.
Thank you very much, Juan. I appreciate it. I was just telling our friend Kyle on Full Moon to go ahead and promote Mr. Jose Luis Alvarez. He is here, and so we're going to bring him in, and he is the applicant. Appreciate Kyle from Full Moon. Appreciate Full Moon always looking out for us. Shout out to Full Moon. See, we get Mr. Alvarez on here.
Hi.
How you doing, Mr. Alvarez?
Good, and you guys?
Good. Glad you stayed with us. I know it's been a long time. Government takes a long time. Go ahead and you can say whatever you want to say about anything else.
I mean, you guys already pretty much discussed everything. Hugh has been discussing this and has been working on this with the previous owners for quite a while. So I just want to get this done and over with so we can actually put a fence on our property. That's pretty much why we want this done. We just want a fence. When we first bought the house, we did notice there was like 1 or 2 homeless literally living in the back of the edge of this road. Once we cleared up once we bought the house, because it was full of overgrown, we cut all the overgrown and we noticed that there was like literally someone living here. So when we cut the grass, that person left. So believe me, I believe this will be a great thing for the neighborhood as well, because it's gonna put a dead end to all of this mess that there is right here. About the pool we mentioned is that we're planning on building it in the future in the back, not on the side. We're not planning on building anything on the side. Also, why we want this right away is because if you notice, our driveway is on the side of the house. So of course we need to make it accommodated for us to be able to come in here and park our car. So that's pretty much it. We just want to fence it up and wrap this up.
Thank you very much, Mr. Alvarez. I appreciate it. Councilperson Roman, any questions or comments for either Juan or the applicant? Mr. Alvarez. I don't have you on my screen. We're good? That's all right, you're good. Councilperson Urban.
Yeah, I would just say that again, in trying to figure out should the village retain this property because of a future need, known or unknown, right? And then weigh that against the current condition, which exactly as the homeowner on this applicant is pointing out, you know, when we hear the trains honking, now that they've made it a quiet zone, typically what I find is the trains are honking at people walking along the tracks. And so there is, you know, just a daily activity in the village. When you cross over the tracks on 87th Street and you look up and down, I mean, you see people walking the tracks all the time down to 82nd. And so I do agree that this would help bring just a little bit more security to the village. And again, all of the potential uses of this property in the imagined future, I still see a greater security component than a net gain for use. And so, that's all I want to say is that I hear what the homeowners are saying, and again, it sounds like Juan has deliberated this in his consideration for recommending, and so there you go.
Thank you very much, Councilperson Erbaum. Councilperson Perrella.
Yes, well, to add to what Mr. Orban said, I mean, the benefit will be entirely to the homeowners. Nothing, I don't see other than probably security issues like he's mentioning, you know, for the village. I don't see, you know, any value or any thing going, you know, towards the villagers, and you know, that's what I'm looking at. And Juan said it. I don't know if the lawyer has something to add to it. You know, like I said, I'm not comfortable of just, you know, vacating 50 feet of land, you know, frontage. And I understand their concerns, but if we cannot get a penny from as a village for those 2 pieces of land, or if we cannot create a park, being that you're not comfortable that it's a dead-end street. So if there's no benefit to the village in that sense, then I'm not, you know, I'm not opposing myself. But I just see that it's a, you know, I see it as a benefit more for the property owners than for the village.
Thank you, Councilperson Perrella. Is there anybody from the audience that wants to come in and say anything about this particular property? Anybody from the audience? All right. Seeing none. Before I ask for a motion with the same 2 conditions, certificate today and the no existing utilities, before I ask for a motion with those 2 conditions, Councilperson Roman, anything that you want to say or add? You're good. Councilperson Erbaum, anything you want to say or add? Questions? You're good. Councilperson Perrella, anything you want to say? Last thing?
Yes. Could it also be a condition not to ever use the property as a bed and breakfast or Airbnb, given that El Portal is giving them that piece of land? Is it something that's possible?
Juan, Mr. Attorney.
The property that we're vacating or giving a right of way for is not a current structure.
No, I mean the property owner that we vacating these right of ways to.
What the attorney's saying though, Councilperson Perrella, is that there's nothing there. So
Right.
there's nothing on
No,
this.
I'm not saying, I know there's nothing there. I'm saying the 2 property owners that are benefiting from this to enlarge their lot. So, you know, now they're gonna be like, you know, within their same property, they're building, you know, extra room or another casita, like they're calling it now, all the way in the back of the property and rent it and get revenue from it.
Yeah, but I think what the attorney is saying, attorney, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's saying that that would be nothing to put in. Go ahead, Mr. Attorney.
Well, I get what I'm saying specifically is that we can transfer the real estate, the legal description, with whatever conditions we want on it, or the village wants on it, but you can't then place restrictions on the property owner's other property. So I don't know of any mechanism to do that.
Yeah, I think what I was kind of, and I agree with you, Mr. Attorney. I think what I was kind of going with Mr. Councilperson Perella was that currently, like they're not building anything additional on the property that we're talking about, that we're in discussion about right now. So it wouldn't appeal to them right now. So basically, we will be putting that on them. We'll be putting it onto their current property, which you know, the current property has always existed.
Right.
You know, it's like we would be adding on to something to their current property, which they've always used all this time anyway. So it's like, so we're doing that to them. It's kind of like we're picking on those two individuals.
Well, again, it's just like we were talking about the, you know, the right to dig or whatever. They're gonna have these 25 feet on their property now, and they're not allowed to build on that piece of property, or it's just to maintain it as a green space and stuff like that. Because it'll become like 5 feet is the setback for a property to build from the property line.
If I may, just to clarify the two conditions that Councilperson Perella is recommending, there's no way they can put a bed and breakfast. It's not allowed on Z3 whatsoever. So regardless, there's no way. With regards to Airbnb, we need to abide by state ordinances, and that's what we do. Right? We can't. I mean, Mr. Attorney, you and I have had these conversations before, and with the mayor as well. There is certain conditions that we have to abide by, which is state. Mr. Attorney, help me out here with the legal lingo. You're on mute.
Yeah, we discussed this at the last council meeting. In fact, Councilperson Urban instructed me to prepare a proposed ordinance for Airbnb, which I'm in the process of working on. But the point is that local municipalities are preempted from regulating Airbnbs. So
short-term rentals, right?
Short-term rentals. So, but more importantly, this application is not subject to the property owner's existing property that they live in right now. So when we're talking about the property, that's the right-of-way application. So we can't basically impose upon their other property a restriction on the use.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. That's all I was going to say, Councilperson Perella, that you know, they've always had their property, so we can't now come back and put some restriction on their property that they've never had before. We just need to do a village-wide. We want to do something to do a village-wide to where it includes them, but
no, I'm saying that being that they're gonna gain 25 feet of property, 25 by 70.
They're not going to build on it, though. They're not building on it.
Well, that's what they're saying now, but you don't know what the property, you know, if they decide to sell the property, the next property owner is going to come and say, well, I'm going to build a house here, and they have 20 feet to build whatever, because they can only go, you know, they have the right of way. I mean, they have the setback is only 5 feet, and we're giving them 25 feet. So in that corner, they can actually build another house.
If I may, Mr. Chair, what can happen in the future, Councilperson Perella, is if the owners or subsequent owners come back to the village for variances to expand or go into the setback, whatever the case may be, we can then at that time impose whatever covenants or conditions limiting the use of the property.
Does that satisfy your question, Councilperson Perella?
Because that would not run afoul with the regulatory preemptions in the Florida statute, because that would just be a covenant between the property owner and the village.
With regards to the additional unit, and of course, I'd have to look at it in a little bit more detail, but what I'm seeing in the survey right now, and you have in your screen, you have 92 feet. There's a provision in the code that only allows that requires any Z3 property to be at least 50 feet, so they could not subdivide this in two, with the information that I have right now in front of me.
Thank you very much, Juan. Madam Manager, do you have anything that you want to add before I ask for a, you're good?
No, I'm good.
You're good. Mr. Attorney, anything else you want to add? Say you're good. Juan, anything else you want to add? Any questions for the county? You're good. Madam Clerk, anything you want to Matt. Any questions? You're good. And just one last check for Councilperson Roman, Councilperson Erbaum, Councilperson Pirelli. You guys are good? We're good. Okay, so I'm going to ask for a motion, same motion from as the last one. I'm going to ask for a motion for, hold on, let me pull it up so I get the wording right. So hold up 1 second. I just want to say the address for the record. Put the other screen. I have the tracking report up on my screen, so we can get back to the other screen. Hold on 1 second, y'all. Just make sure I have the address correct. Okay, here we go. All right, coming up, computer kind of slow. Come on. All right, here we go. All right, there's the agenda. Yes, Madam Manager, I have the agenda. Yes,
I know you. Thank you, Chair, Vice Mayor Nickerson. I just wanted to mention about the tracking report that this one is a bit out of date. I mean, it's got a few things on it, but we have been working in the administration. We're working with the mayor to update the tracking report and to include a lot more on it, like more of the short-term and long-term projects, as well as the resiliency task force and other items. So we can certainly go over it at your discretion, but just know that we are aware that this isn't reflective of all the things we're planning.
No problem, Madam Manager. We're just gonna go over it, and anything, I was just gonna go item to item, and just anything that you or Juan has to update the committee. That's all I was gonna do with that. So, okay. All right. Mr. Alvarez, is there anything else you want to say? You are the applicant before I ask for a motion. Any last words that you have, Mr. Alvarez? If he's still here. Is he still here? No? He's still here.
I don't think he's there.
No, he's not here. All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve application 2020-PZ-008 right-of-way vacation for the property located at 8501 Northeast 4th Avenue Road in Zone 3 and move this to full council.
With the two conditions of no existing utilities and
with the two conditions as outlined by Pluserbia in the recommendation.
Thank you very much. Do I have a second for that?
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Councilperson Erbaum. I have a second by Councilperson Roman. Madam Clerk, may I please have roll call on this item?
Roll call, Member Pereira.
No.
Member Erbaum.
Yes.
Member Roman.
Yes.
Vice Chair Nickerson.
Yes.
Motion passes 3-1.
All right, thank you very much. So we're gonna go down to the tracking report real quick. Thank you very much, Mr. Alvarez, who was here, Mr. Gladwin was here, Ms. Fuentes checked in early. We appreciate you guys, as always. So we're gonna go to the tracking report and just pull that up.
Do you need us to stay, Mr. Vice Mayor?
Juan, yes. I may need you to stay, maybe. Give me wants to get this. Yes, we're gonna go over.
Vice Chair, that is not, I think what's much to the village manager's point, that is not an updated tracking report because I haven't received one. So they're working on one. I think that's what she's trying to say. Most of those items. Yeah.
So Madam Manager, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Manager, are you saying that we shouldn't go over it at all?
Well, it's up to the committee. Clearly, if you want just some general updates, but we have more that we're working on besides what's on here. So we would have more updates.
Yeah, I was just gonna go and say, hey, like, do we have an update about the trailer park? Do we have an update about the Kavit? Like, what's the latest on? That's all I was gonna do, basically.
Well, I can certainly answer any questions, Juan, if it's about anything on this tracking report.
Tracking report, so we don't need Juan for this tracking report. Well, I just want to thank Juan and thank Camilla for also being with us. We appreciate your time. Always appreciate your expertise. Juan, go ahead, whatever you want to say.
Right, no, it's related to this. Would you want to direct us to present the architectural guidelines in the next PZ?
Please do.
Okay, and we will include this committee some permeable materials in it as well. But we are not going to keep on working on it because, again, I don't want to spin my wheels. We would like input from you so that we can move forward. other than the permeable materials.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Because, like, for example, Madam Manager, when it comes to like the comprehensive master plan, I was just going to ask if there was any updates from like Juan or you. I was just going to go through and just ask for updates. That's the only reason why I told him to stay. But
Yeah.
if you know, if he doesn't need to stay.
Well, I mean, I know it, or you can tell it, but you can tell it, Juan, right now, if you'd like.
I mean, the only other thing that it's not a tracking report, but I can mention is that we are working on two other elements. One is the comprehensive plan. We are planning to have a draft within the next, I believe, for the next PZ for sure. And hopefully we can close that because, you know, it's necessary by state to provide it for them. And then the other one that was brought to us was the, oh gosh, my mind at this time is a little bit.
Was it the water plan?
The water plan.
Water supply plan they're working on?
It's the water supply plan. And it is a requirement by state that every municipality have a water supply plan. Apparently the village has never had one. So when state came to us, you know, we were a little surprised that we couldn't find records of one. So we have to provide one for state. And it's significantly important for municipalities that have water issues, water table issues, etc. So I might be calling Hugh in the next few days now. We're moving forward with it, but we will have something to you for the next PZ.
If I,
Council, go ahead, Mr. Attorney.
I'm sorry, I heard water. I just want to let Councilperson Urban know that I did email you this morning the proposed model water conservation ordinance. It's in your inbox.
Yes, I received it. I'm reviewing it. Got it.
Right.
Thank you.
About the water supply plan that Juan is speaking about. Yes, we do have a lot to take from. We are doing a lot of things in the village of El Portal, and that ordinance is one other thing that will go into our water supply plan as well that the interim attorney just spoke about. So we're working together. We're pulling out a lot of things and working with Camila and Juan to get that water supply plan done. So it's a big job, but we've got plenty of activities that we're already doing. So we're not remiss. We just have to organize it in a written form.
Thank you very much, Madam Manager. I appreciate that. Councilperson Roman, do you have any questions or comments about the water supply plan, about the comprehensive master plan overall? You're good. Councilperson Urban, do you have anything you want to ask or add about the water supply plan or the comprehensive master plan overall? Councilperson Urban, you're good. Councilperson Perrella, what about you? Anything about the water supply plan, overall, the comprehensive master plan? You're good? All right. Anything else that you see, like as far as where are we at with the absolute latest from the Cavista? I know, you know, we passed what we passed, Madam Manager, but anything on the Cavista trailer park?
Well, what I can tell you is that we haven't gotten any plans just yet. Things are on track though. We're moving forward. We received some an installment on the developer's fees, and they've been deposited into the trust account as prescribed. And we're moving forward. Things are on par. Also, I know that Cavista is on here, but also the skate park is moving forward. They are presenting plans, and that's moving along very quickly, a lot quicker than Cavista at this point. And the trailer park, we've gotten no motion on that. I'm assuming that with coronavirus and you know everything that's happening internationally, we're having a lot of issues. I'm sorry, my phone keeps going on. We're having a lot of you know things to deal with on that side from those owners. I do want to mention that the sanctuary project, I think many of you all know by now, but we can let our community know that the Cristo Rey School is not going to be going in there. That contract fell through with the owners of Cavista, and they are, I mean, of the sanctuary. And so other entities are expressing some interest in asking to meet with me and Mayor, and so we'll see what comes next. And Let's see what I'm on here.
That's pretty.
That's it.
Juan, is
I'm
there
looking through a magnifying glass. It's so
You're
tiny.
good, sister. You're good. You're good. Juan, is there anything that you want to add about any of those things? The trailer park, Cavista, Sanctuary. Any comments? Any quotes? any quote of the night?
Fortunately or unfortunately, things are moving and they're on track. Certain things that large applications have been put on hold, but we remain working on smaller applications, improvements to homes. We remain, we're working on new construction. You're going to see in the next PZ new construction that came before you and has improved. So we've been working with that applicant to make sure that it's as we believe better than it was before for your consideration. As well as other properties that are looking, other businesses that are looking at moving into Second Avenue. So there's some exciting things moving forward, again, for your consideration as we keep on working on them.
Thank you very much, Juan. Appreciate that. Councilperson Roman, do you have any last questions or comments for either the village manager or Juan for Serbia?
No, thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much, Councilperson Roman. Councilperson Erbaum, any last questions or comments for either one of them? Thank you very much, Councilperson Erbaum. Councilperson Perella, any last questions or comments for either the village manager or Juan for Serbia? No, you're good. All right, thank you very much. Any last comments, Juan or Christia, village manager? Juan, any last questions, comments you want to make? You're good. Mr. Attorney, any last questions or comments? You're good?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, any last questions or comments? You're good?
I just have a question since everybody's here. I don't know if the attorney wants to ask whose availability for a special meeting on Thursday, but Thursday's not going to be possible. This is not soon enough for an ordinance that he has to propose or amend. I'm not too sure.
Yes.
Everybody's here now. It'd be easier, and then I'll just have to call the mayor.
Yes, we have to update our current ordinance relating to elections. There's a lot of language in it that's not consistent with the Florida statute. So what we're trying to do is simply amend our ordinance prior to our regular commission meeting, and then have the second reading at that meeting. So if you're available, it should only take about 15 minutes, either Thursday or Friday. What's the next day? Thursday?
It would have to be Friday because we need at least minimum 48 hours to notice the public.
Yeah, like it would only be like 15, 20 minutes at the most, just to adopt the changes consistent with the Florida statutes.
Let me ask this though. Whenever we do a Zoom meeting, we have to pay for the initial, right? Correct, Madam Clerk and Madam Manager, we have to pay for the initial, like the 500. And so is there any way that we can put this on the Administration of Finance, which is Tuesday alongside the budget? Like on Tuesday, we have the budget. Don't we have budget? When is that? The budget administration?
Tuesday. It is Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. There's no way we can put it on another committee or so we can save the $500 for just to come on, just to do a 15, like if it's just a 15-minute thing. There's no other committee or anything we can put it on?
Right. She has to have 10 days, I guess, to advertise after that. Is that right?
Yeah, there's an advertisement requirement.
I think you can. I think you can because you're going to still have to have a special council meeting anyways for the second reading. It's not going to make it to the council meeting.
Okay, so if it's not going to make it to the council meeting, can we add it to Administration and Finance agenda?
That's actually what I was trying to type now and propose, and I was going to send it to the attorney. I was doing the math right now after I spoke to the advertisement. They need 4 days. So based on what I'm getting from them, it's not going to be sufficient. So by August, that's what I'm looking at right now. August 3rd would have to be the second reading. So it would be another special meeting. So it can be before qualifying.
We have to work within their parameters. So whatever it is, we'll just deal with that and everyone's availability.
Okay, but I understand the second meeting, but for the first meeting, is there any way we can save that 500 is what I'm asking?
I think with the clerk's permission, we could do it on Tuesday. We could do the special meeting first and then do the committee meeting right after that.
Can we do that? Because that way, I mean, it's cheaper for, even if we go from meeting to meeting, it's much cheaper than if Zoom has to set up a whole nother meeting. I'm just trying to avoid, money being spent for no reason. So we can do that. If we can do like a special meeting right before the meeting. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. King.
That makes sense. I mean, that works for me. I'm available. It's just the council persons, if everyone else is available to make quorum, that's fine with me.
Councilperson, I know Roman is on the committee, and also Councilperson Urban. Were both of you planning on being at the Administration and Finance Committee next week? You got both are good. And so Councilperson Perrella, would you be able to join us next Tuesday? You'll be good. Okay. So so Madam Clerk, if you could just reach out to the mayor.
I will. We're having the workshop that same day too, right? So it would be like in between.
Yeah, we'll figure out how to set it up. We'll figure out how to set it up.
Okay.
Like where to put it.
But we're looking at doing it at 6:30, correct?
I'm assuming because we have the
Budget
you're
work.
talking about the Administration and Finance Committee meeting. Is that what you're talking about, Councilperson Roman?
I'm talking about the special meeting.
The special would be, I believe, it would be the first one, yeah, and get it out the way.
So
Since
starting
it's-
at 6:30, not starting
Yeah.
at 6 is what I'm asking.
Yeah, it was 6:30. It will be 6:30. Start at 6:30.
Okay.
We're going to sign off. I don't want to
Like I
interrupt.
said, it should only take like 10, 15 minutes. It'll be really quick.
Juan, go ahead. Thank you very much, Mr. Attorney.
Thank
Bye,
you,
Juan.
We're going to sign off. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juan. Take care. Thank you, Camilla. Thank you, guys. You guys take care. Have a great night. Thank you very much. Juan's like, okay, you guys get in the weeds now. It's time for me to leave. But yeah, I think we can do that. All right, thank you for that. As far as good and welfare is the next thing on the agenda. You guys, well, first of all, is there any last questions or comments about that, about those meetings next Tuesday? Are we good with that? Any confusion about that? We good, everybody? All right. Good and welfare. So this time, anybody from the audience wants to come on and say anything at all about anything we spoke about here, about anything at all on your mind, anything from anything that's on your mind, just anywhere. This is the time right now to come on and do that. This is good and welfare. I am seeing none, no hands raised. I'm seeing none. I'm seeing no attendees. We're the only ones left, only the panelists. You guys, do I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
first
a
of all,
motion.
Before I get a motion to adjourn, anybody have anything else you guys want to say? You guys are good? Everybody, we're good? Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
I'll make a
Motion.
motion to adjourn.
A second.
Urban, motion to adjourn. Councilperson Roman, second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay. Everybody wants to go home. We appreciate you guys. The planning and zoning meeting for Tuesday, July 4th is adjourned at 9:50 p.m. Is 9:50?
9:46.
9:46
Yes, but it's the
p.m.
14th.
9:46 p.m. Oh, yes. Thank you very much. I appreciate you guys. You guys take care. Have a great night, you guys. Thank you very much. It's been wonderful. You guys take care. Bye. See you guys next Tuesday. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.